Chapter 177. The Trouble, the Plan of Three People. Cross the sea. As this little episode passed, the geniuses of Xintian domain regained their composure, closed their eyes, and immersed themselves in cultivation. Such hard work moved many people in the outside world, who secretly thought that this was also the reason why they were able to rank at the top of the heavenly ranking. Of course, there are exceptions, such as the two people from the Wen family. They seem to be practicing, but in fact their eyes are flashing, and occasionally they look at Nangong Chen on the other side, as if they are planning something. We can't keep it this peaceful. We need to create some chaos. Otherwise, if we enter the immortal treasure like this, it won't be a good sign for us. When Shun's mind moved, and he transmitted the message. Indeed, but how can we make these people divide? Just now, that person with double pupils provoked the geniuses of other domains, but these little brats didn't get angry at all. How strange. If it were me, I would have kicked this idiot out for provoking others. Why would I let him stay here? When Zhe responded, his voice sounding old and not befitting his age. Oh, who told you they had no objection? When Shun smiled playfully and fixed his gaze on a black-robed figure. When Zhe also followed his gaze, his face a little confused. In that corner, Yi Guqing was sitting quietly with a gloomy look on his face. He glanced at others from time to time, his eyes full of resentment. That's good now. Once we enter the immortal treasure, we will be besieged by the geniuses from other domains. No one will be able to enter the second route. You fools actually tolerate him in our team. Don't you know he is a disaster? Instead, the entire team will be held responsible for the arrogance of this double-pupiled person. Yi Guqing sneered in his heart, wishing he could leave the team as soon as possible. But he also had some sense and did not say what he was thinking. If he did, he alone would not be able to carry out such a rhythm. Did you see it? When Shun smiled meaningfully and said in a voice transmission. So that's how it is. You're just full of ideas. What should we do now? When Zhe suddenly understood, showed an admiring look, and then asked. First this, then that. When Shun's eyes flashed, and he conveyed his inner plan to him. Soon, the two of them quietly moved to Yi Guqing's side, seemingly discussing something. Yi Guqing's eyes occasionally flashed with a gleam, and he nodded frequently. When everyone saw this scene, they were a little confused. They didn't expect that Yi Guqing had such a good relationship with the two geniuses of the Wen family. However, despite their doubts, they didn't look at it for long and quickly turn around to do their own things. On the other side, Nangong Chen also noticed the actions of Yi Guqing and the others. He took a quick glance at them and left an impression. Seeing him looking at her, Su Li gritted her teeth and said, He is the man who fought with me that day. His name is Yi Guqing, and he is the second true disciple of the Sun Palace. I severely defeated him that day. The elder of the Sun God Palace showed no respect for martial ethics and actually attacked me. Fortunately, Uncle Qi was there that day, otherwise it would have been dangerous. After hearing this, Nangong Chen's expression was calm, but a hint of coldness flashed in the depths of his eyes, and he said in a cold voice, I know, after entering the immortal treasure, I will let him know what cruelty is. If it weren't for the laws of this world that prevented him from taking action, he would have killed Yi Guqing long ago. But after entering, it was different. Su Li's eyelashes trembled slightly, and she responded in a low voice. Just as the two were thinking, a cold voice rang out. Everyone, the double-pupiled one is so arrogant that he has angered the other 9 realms geniuses. I'm sure you all know that after entering the immortal vault, our situation will be very difficult. I'm unwilling to accept this. Why should we bear the consequences of the double-pupiled one's mistakes? The person who made this voice was Yi Guqing. His tone was cold, and his eyes held a hint of resentment, but it was well hidden. Yes, why should we bear the responsibility for the mistakes made by one person with double pupils? I don't accept it. I agree with Brother Yi. After hearing this, Wen Zhe echoed loudly in that rough voice. This old man, no, I also agree with Brother Yi. I know that everyone here is afraid of the power of the one with double pupils and dare not speak out. In this case, the 3 of us will take the lead and give you a clear and bright sky. You know, a single spark can start a prairie fire. When Shun spoke eloquently and presented an image of a scholar, which moved many people. As soon as these words were spoken, they instantly stirred the emotions of many people. Those geniuses on the lower rank of the heavenly ranking who had not previously known those with double pupils also supported these people. Well said, you are indeed a scholar. I also don't agree. Why should we bear the responsibility for the mistakes made by the person with double pupils? Yes, I also support the 3 fellow Taoists, but I have no intention of offending those with double pupils, because this is really unfair to us. I entered the immortal treasure, I didn't come to die. Liu Yang and Wang Yid also spoke up, saying that what they represented was the opinion of the other people behind them. Although these geniuses are not as famous as those at the top of the heavenly ranking, they have been able to consistently rank in the top 10 on the heavenly ranking for many years through their own efforts. They could be considered the backbone of the heavenly ranking. Are you guys planning a rebellion? Do you know that we came from Xintian territory as a group? Brother Nangong just spoke up for us, attracting the attention of the other territory's geniuses. Now, are you guys planning to turn around and isolate him? Li Qixin narrowed his eyes slightly and spoke. A monstrous aura burst out, pressing everyone to the point of suffocation. After seeing this, Yi Guqing flicked his fingers and sent a wisp of holy bone aura to protect everyone in front of him, offsetting the tremendous pressure. Overlord, calm down. I know you and the one with the double pupils are good friends, but this is the reality right now. The one with the double pupils' words has already caused many domains to secretly decide that they will deal with us first after entering. You can see that too. Yi Guqing spoke calmly, as if he had rehearsed it in advance. Li Qixin and the others looked up and saw the geniuses from other domains. They were whispering something and pointing at them with cold eyes. At this moment, people outside were also shocked when they saw this scene. What are Yi Guqing and the others planning to do? Are they trying to isolate those with double pupils? Hiss. The person with double pupils just now was just impulsive. It's a bit too much to bring it up now. I suggest that we investigate these people's ancestors for 3 generations. They might be traitors sent from other domains. Why not tell us now when the immortal treasure is about to be opened? Yi Guqing is clearly seeking revenge. Everyone knows that the Sun Palace has always been at odds with those with double pupils. Moreover, Yi Guqing was recently badly defeated by the Taoist companion of a person with double pupils. He is a villain and a hypocrite. Don't be fooled by him. Those supporters of Nangong Chen said angrily. Chapter 178, even if the whole world is against me. However, some people who supported the Sun God Palace also stood up and said coldly, I think you guys are hopelessly stupid. Why should others bear the consequences of the mistakes made by the one with double pupils? Yes, Yi Guqing is also thinking about the glory of our Xintian territory. Why do you speculate about others with a mean mind? I actually have a good impression of Yi Guqing now. I didn't expect that he is such a man who did something that no one else dared to do. On the contrary, the one with double pupils, tut, dares to do it, but not to take responsibility for it. In the void, when the powerful ones saw this scene, their expressions became complicated for a moment, and they didn't know what to say. If the person with double pupils is kicked out, the immortal treasure will lose a top genius, which is very disadvantageous for their seed plan. If they are not kicked out, the person with double pupils will be surrounded by many parties after staying in the team for one day and entering the immortal treasure, who will bear the consequences at that time. It might even harm their offspring. Soon, they made a decision and were more inclined towards Yi Guqing. But even if they figured it out, these old foxes didn't say it out loud. After all, there was a saint in the void who was keeping a close eye on them. If anyone didn't want to live, they could give it a try. Tianyuan Divine Dynasty. How can this be absurd? Which faction is this Yi Guqing from? He is targeting our prince like this. Once the incident was over, no one else had any objections, but this person insisted on pointing it out. He's stirring up others' emotions. This guy has truly sinister intentions. We found out. This person is the second true disciple of the Sun Palace, Yi Guqing, the one who was completely defeated by the crown princess that day. Fuck, it turns out to be him. The people from the Sun God Palace are really so insidious and cunning. The civil and military officials were extremely excited and spoke indignantly. For them, Nangong Chen represented their divine dynasty in the war. Now that he was instigated and isolated by this person, wasn't this a slap in their faces? Boom! On the dragon throne, Nangong Chen saw this scene and knocked the jade in his hand hard, breaking it into pieces. His face was as gloomy as a dark cloud, and he was extremely angry. Wang Yuxuan and the other 3 girls also gritted their teeth, their beautiful eyes frosty. They couldn't bear to see the unparalleled Nangong Chen suffer any injustice. Return to the immortal treasure. Li Qixin was speechless after hearing this. In the final analysis, they were too wrong. Alas, Brother Nangong shouldn't be so impulsive. It would be better if they didn't catch us. Li Qixin didn't know what to do for a moment. He looked at Li Muxio beside him and asked, What should I do? After hearing this, Li Muxiu secretly glanced at Nangong Chen. His eyes trembled, and then he spread his hands and said, "Hold it." Seeing this, Li Qixin looked a little disappointed. He lowered his head, his eyes full of thoughts. On the other side, Nangong Chen stood with his hands behind his back, his white clothes fluttering, his expression indifferent, his eyes calm. It was impossible to tell what he was thinking. "They are bad. They want to isolate you." Su Li held it in for a long time before finally saying this. "It doesn't matter. In the face of absolute strength, everything is nothing," Nangong Chen said lightly, with an invincible confidence that soared into the sky. "Okay, I'll be with you, no matter who your enemy is, even if it's the whole world." Su Li's beautiful eyes blossomed with brilliance. She looked at him and said softly. When Nangong Chen heard this, he was stunned for a moment. His heart was inexplicably fluctuating, and his breathing suddenly became unstable, as if his heartstrings were plucked. When did Sanwa become so good at teasing? Nangong Chen was a little surprised. He glanced at her and was stunned for a moment. He didn't know when, but there was a trace of his figure in those ice-blue eyes. "So what exactly do you want to do?" On the other side, Li Qixin gritted his teeth and said, looking at the group of people in front of him, "Don't be angry, Overlord. I have no other thoughts. Everything I do is for the common good of our Xintian territory, and you all don't want to be ranked lower than other domains. When we return, how will the people of Xintian territory look at us?" Yi Guqing bowed and spoke in a deep voice. Every word he said made sense, and the others were also moved after hearing it. "In my opinion, it would be better to just go in and kill the one with double pupils. Then, we can hand him over to the geniuses of other domains. That way, we can have an explanation and they won't endanger us again. After all of this is for the Xintian domain. This is a helpless move." At this time, Wen Shun seemed to hesitate for a long time before speaking. When these words were spoken, everyone was shocked and couldn't believe that this idea was so crazy. In an instant, complicated eyes fell on Wen Shun. After Wen Shun sensed it, he seemed to be on pins and needles, but in fact he was sneering in his heart. With his strength, he is not afraid of other people's danger, even if it is that kid with double pupils. If the other party comes to him, he doesn't mind eliminating a future enemy of the blood god cult. At this moment, a surge of blood energy burst out, like a sea of blood hanging in the sky. "What did you say?" Li Qixin gritted his teeth and stared at him intently. The golden halberd was already in his hand, emitting the pressure of the Hittites, as if a generation of war god was here. At this moment, this strange sight made everyone from the other 9 realms look over with a hint of amusement in their eyes. This human must be the strongest among the group of humans. He is quite powerful. On the other side of the wilderness realm, one Tianxing murmured, a hint of fear flashing in his eyes. But what interested him more was what happened in the human realm that made their strongest person so furious. "There are rules here to protect us. Overlord, you can't kill me," Wen Shun said lightly, with some disdain in his eyes. Is this your basis? Even if you enter the immortal treasure, I can still kill you. Do you know what you just said?" Li Qixin said in a cold voice, his eyes fixed on him. "Of course I know. Everything I do is for the sake of Xintian realm. If my death can bring glory and achievement to Xintian realm, then I will go in and kill or slice me up as the Overlord wishes. I will not resist." Wen Shun spoke with an extremely sincere tone, even putting his neck close to the halberd, faint traces of blood surfacing. Chapter 179 Seed Plan leaked. "You really think I don't dare to kill you?" Li Qixin's black hair fluttered in the wind. A hint of murderous intent flashed across his eyes, and the halberd in his hand could not help but exert more force. In an instant, the blood in Wen Shun's neck flowed down, dyeing the edge of the halberd blood red. No one expected that the situation would degenerate to such a state. Then Li Qixin looked at the others behind Wen Shun and said, "Do you know what he's talking about? Before the battle even begins, he points his sword at his own people in exchange for peace. This man is extremely cold-blooded. Do you really want to side with him?" As soon as these words came out, Liu Yang and the others' faces changed. They hadn't expected things to turn out this way. At first, they just wanted to fight for a glimmer of hope for themselves. There was already some hesitation in their hearts. Do I really want to associate with these people? At this moment, Yi Guqing gently moved the halberd away and said slowly, since Overlord and fellow Taoist would have different opinions, how about this both side compromise? The one with double pupils is also one of us. Killing him would be too cold and heartless. He looked at Li Qixin with disdain and said, in my opinion, it would be better to let the one with double pupils go alone after entering. With fellow Taoist Nangong's strength, it shouldn't be a problem for him to hide in this immortal treasure. After he finished speaking, he glanced at Nangong Chen and found that the other party's eyes were not panicked, but rather had a playful smile. This made him break out in a cold sweat and quickly turn his head. This person with double pupils shouldn't react like this. After these words were spoken, Li Qixin's expression eased somewhat, but he still looked somewhat unfriendly. Lu Yang and the others secretly breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Yi Guqing with admiration in their eyes. Yi Shuliu was indeed very capable. Even they had not expected this compromise. Go alone, huh? That's just nice to say. If anything happens to Brother Nangong, can you take responsibility? Li Qixin was still somewhat angry and refused to give up. This was his nature and it had never changed. Seeing that Li Qixin was still not satisfied, when Shun and Yi Guqing looked at each other, as if they had made some decision. Yi Guqing said in a cold voice, Overlord, this decision was actually already made before we came in. Did you know that the forces behind the double-pupiled one are not involved in the seed plan? That means that all the rest of us geniuses have to do is help you, Moon Goddess, and Saint Chu advance to the second round. Besides, he, the one with double pupils, bears the blood feud of Prince Ao Long. In half a year, his venerable master will descend to the mortal realm and will investigate everything and destroy the one with double pupils. In the final analysis, he is just a dying man. Even so, you still want to protect him? As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's expressions changed drastically, and they looked at Nangong Chen as if they had thought of something bad. They forgot that there was this. In the outside world, this scene has caused an uproar. There's actually such a thing. What exactly is the seed project? Yeah, how come I haven't heard of the so-called seed plan? Is there some inside story? Everyone present was shocked, with confusion in their eyes. Soon, after seeing this, the powerful beings in the void looked at each other and saw the astonishment in each other's eyes. They didn't expect that the seed plan would be spread out. Seeing the crowd below making a commotion, these powerful people looked helpless and could only send one of them out to explain. The seed project is, all in all, this is definitely the most realistic plan for us. Not only us, but other domains are also using the same method. After hearing this, everyone suddenly realized what was going on. Then, some supporters of the person with double pupils became very indignant and spoke out. In other words, you've isolated the one with double pupils? Given his strength, it's impossible for him to be completely without a single vote. You know, he's comparable to the top two on the heavenly ranking. Shady, there's definitely something shady going on here. I'm not the one to eat it. Yes, they must have seen that the person with double pupils is from Eastern Shenzhou, so they deliberately didn't want him to enter the second round. That's why they did this. However, he was soon met with sneers from some disciples of the Sun God Palace. What's the shady deal? It's just as it is, okay? He's a powerful person with double pupils, so why doesn't he challenge the top three on the heavenly ranking? He can only look for weak targets to pick on. That's right. In my opinion, this is absolutely fair. Even if someone with double pupils were chosen, they would probably be embarrassed in the second round. Oh, by the way, those with double pupils will die in half a year. By then, I'm afraid you won't even have a place to cry. These people have been suppressed by Nangong Chen supporters for a long time, and now they finally had the opportunity to vent their anger, and they felt very relieved. After seeing this, the powerful beings in the void sighed and discussed in low voices. You're right. Such a stunning monster ended up like this in the end. His personality means he's destined to be like this for the rest of his life. I'm not surprised by that. That kid is beyond the 9th rank. I want to see how strong that talent is. The expressions of these people were extremely complicated at this moment. Some felt sorry, some were regretful, and some sneered. On the other side, above Chu City, there were two figures reaching the top of the mountain, watching this scene. Yeah, what a pity. With that kid's talent, he might be able to surpass us within 100 years. You know, he's currently at the peak of his power, and his bone age is only 18 years old. And the 7th god, when he reached the peak of the great power realm, he was only 24 years old. The gap of 7 years is quite significant. He is well-deserved to be a talent beyond the 9th rank. Old White, can you predict in 6 months whether that young man has a chance of survival? Li Sanhai showed a look of regret, and then looked at the old Taoist beside him. After hearing this, Bai Wudao's eyes flickered. He shook his head and said calmly, "The secret of heaven cannot be revealed." The regret on Li Sanhai's face deepened. It was obvious that he was cherishing the talent. But soon, this thought dissipated, and Li Songhai sighed helplessly. But he is a venerable one from the upper realm. In his hands, even saints are nothing but objects to be manipulated at will. Even if he loves talents much, he cannot take such a big risk for his family. Whether that kid lives or dies in half a year will depend on him. Chapter 180 Nangong Yu comes out of seclusion. Nangong Chen takes action. Tianyuan Divine Dynasty. When everyone saw this projected scene, their pupils shrank slightly and they were speechless. For a moment, there was a hint of confusion in the eyes of the civil and military officials, and it was obvious that they had not yet reacted. This subplan means that the other geniuses will escort those three into the second round. To put it bluntly, after the others go in, won't they just be there to serve as foils? Hiss! How dare they use our crown prince and crown princess as a foil? How unreasonable! They really look down on us. I, the dignified crown prince of the Divine Dynasty, am actually not as good as these three people. They're the only ones in history who have surpassed the 9th rank in talent. Who made this decision? It took a long time for everyone to digest the situation. Their eyes were filled with anger, and they were very excited. However, Yi Guqing in the picture paused, and under the gaze of everyone, the corners of his mouth twitched. After he finished speaking, the whole audience was silent, with eyes filled with disbelief. The supreme one from the upper realm? What was he talking about? Could it be that the master of Prince Ao Long, whom the crown prince killed that day, was the supreme being from the upper realm he was talking about? Hiss! And he said he'd descend to the lower realms in half a year. How can we resist the might of the venerable one? In an instant, everyone's faces turned pale and a hint of despair appeared in their eyes. All right. What a great supreme from the upper realm. I want to see who dares to kill my grandson in half a year. At this moment, an angry voice rang out, as loud as a bell, and even the sky changed color. An old figure appeared in the void, his robe rustling and his eagle eyes as bright as a dragon lantern. The aura on his body was too terrifying, making people dare not face him directly. Even the space seemed to be torn apart. This kind of pressure was not something that only a saint could possess. Obviously, he has taken the most mysterious and terrifying step out of the Xiantian realm. And this person's familiar face showed that he was the former supreme saint, the founder of Tianyuan Mansion, Nangong Yu. When everyone saw this, excitement flashed in their eyes. They suppressed their joy and said respectfully in unison, "Greetings, old ancestor." They could sense that the ancestor had already entered a state of unity between man and nature, and the impact this brought was far beyond the reach of other saints. With such a terrifying, powerful being here, why should we be afraid of the so-called venerable from the upper realm? At this moment, Nangong Yu's eyes were cold and his aura was extremely terrifying. He looked at Nangong Chen and said, "Tell me everything that happened. I want to see who dares to hurt my grandson in Xiantian territory." Good. Nangong Chen showed a hint of excitement. His cultivation was higher than that of the others present, so naturally he could sense something different. Afterwards, Nangong Chen narrated everything that had happened. On the other side, 4 beautiful figures were also looking at this side, whispering to each other with their red lips. This person's strength has become even stronger. I wonder how far he has come now. Wang Yuxuan blinked her beautiful eyes and said curiously. After hearing this, the women shook their heads. How many people have set foot on the existence above the saint throughout history? How could they know? Only Zhou Wan'er seemed to have thought of something and said aloud, "I heard that beastly king of Great Zhou say before that there's still a long way to go beyond being a saint. He's been muttering about it every day for a while, saying that the supreme saint hasn't appeared in a long time. Could it be that he has stepped into the realm of Saint King?" After hearing this, the 3 girls' beautiful eyes widened in shock. "No, sister, I didn't expect you to actually know this." "So, the step taken by the supreme saint is the Saint King?" Lu Rian exclaimed, as if she had discovered something extraordinary. Su Yao's face was shocked. She seemed to have heard something incredible. Was this something that a mere spiritual sea-realm person like her could hear? In the distance, Nangong Yu seemed to sense something, glanced over here, and then looked away. Nangong Chen followed his gaze, smiled, and explained, "The young woman in black is the 7th princess of the Great Zhou, Zhou Wan'er. She has some feelings for Chun'er and is now Chun'er's personal maid." Hearing the word de Zhou, Nangong Yu frowned subconsciously. No problem. That girl was a pitiful person. She was the one who took the last breath of the king of Zhou. Nangong Chen said slowly, with a look of reminiscence on his face. After hearing this, Nangong Yu felt a little disturbed and looked at Zhou Wan'er thoughtfully. The two continued to talk. Within the immortal treasure. Even so, will you still protect him? Yi Guqing gritted his teeth and said, a cold look in his eyes. He has already said so much. If the overlord still doesn't understand, then he is really too foolish. After the words were spoken, everyone had complicated expressions, their eyes flickered, and their minds were filled with thousands of thoughts. What the elders of the family said to them that day was naturally exactly the same as what Yi Guqing had just said, without any change. The purpose of their trip was simply to send the seeds of the 3 people from the immortal treasure to the second round of trials. As Yi Guqing had just said, the one with double pupils had provoked such a powerful enemy, and the elders in his family had warned him not to make friends with him. Li Qixin's eyes were complicated at this moment, and he was obviously in anxiety. That venerable is indeed a formidable enemy. My grandfather once told me not to get close to the man with double pupils, otherwise the family will be plunged into an irretrievable situation. However, this is my friend. Even if he is killed by the venerable within half a year, he is still my friend. Forget it, the worst that can happen is that I can just cut off ties with my family, and changing my name is not unacceptable. Soon, Li Qixin's eyes became resolute, and he no longer hesitated, as if he had made some decision. A dying person? You seem to have a clear understanding of your own identity. Yes, you really don't have long to live. At this moment, a cold voice sounded, and while the words were indifferent, they carried an air of superiority. The next moment, Yi Guqing flew backwards, spitting blood, as if he had been hit hard. A flash of white divine light flashed in front of him. This sudden scene made many people unable to react immediately, and they stood there in a daze. After a long time, he swallowed his saliva and looked at the person who had just attacked, the one with double pupils. It was the one with double pupils who took action, and he was angry. Over there, Nangong Chen had an indifferent expression on his face, dressed in a white robe as white as snow, and his hand slowly dropped down as if crushing a bug to death. The divine light still wrapped around his body, extremely mysterious, and with his handsome face that looked like an immortal, he looked like the Lord of Heaven. After seeing this, Yi Guqing was filled with disbelief and bewilderment, and said in a lost voice, "Isn't it forbidden to take action while crossing the sea?" Chapter 181, I Dare Not Kill You? He was confused, as if he was dreaming, but the pain in his body told him all the time that all this was real. It's true that I can't erase your aura, but I didn't say I can't attack you. Nangong Chen said lightly, his extremely terrifying double pupils emitting a vast and dark light. After hearing this, Yi Guqing was stunned for a moment, and then he reacted with a glint of satisfaction in his eyes. Haha, then you can only hurt me, not kill me. Otherwise, you will be annihilated too. Oh, are you so sure that I wouldn't dare kill you? Nangong Chen smiled faintly, but his face was full of coldness as he glanced at him. Seeing this, Yi Guqing was shocked and felt a sudden sense of fear, as if he was about to be swallowed up. That feeling of palpitations was unforgettable for him. He swallowed his saliva, his legs trembling uncontrollably, and he stepped back repeatedly until he hid behind Wen Shan. This person with double pupils is a madman. He will really kill himself. He doesn't even want to die. Wen Shan also bowed and said, "Sir, could you please give me some face?" Fellow Taoist, he is also thinking about Xintian territory, but his words were a bit extreme. "I'm giving you a favor, but who do you think you are?" Nangong Chen showed a sneer on his face, not giving him any face, and his words were very domineering. When these words were spoken, everyone was stunned. They didn't expect that the person with double pupils would be so tough. You know, these 2 monsters of the one family haven't appeared in the world for a long time, and their strength is unimaginable. Could it be that, while crossing the sea today, Nangong Chen was going to turn against them? After hearing this, Wen Shan clenched his fists and a cold look flashed in his eyes, but it was well hidden. He said in a deep voice, "Fellow Taoist, don't go too far." At this moment, under Nangong Chen's double pupils, an old soul was standing on Wen Shan's body with a ferocious face and a pair of blood-red eyes, as if it wanted to swallow him. Nangong Chen saw this, and there was an inexplicable meaning in his eyes. I didn't expect that 2 mice would sneak into this immortal treasure hunt. How interesting. This familiar aura. Is it from the blood god cult? Thinking of this, Nangong Chen smiled playfully and said, "Since you beg me so much, I will show mercy and reluctantly let him go." You. After hearing this, Yi Guqing spat out blood again, and his face turned pale. Wen Shan is inferior to him in both talent and strength. Isn't what he said now a naked humiliation to him? Then, Nangong Chen glanced at Yi Guqing and others behind Wen Shan, turned around, and left with a faint smile. "Brother Qixin, there's no need to say more on my behalf. I appreciate your kindness. If I have the chance, I will definitely come and thank you. I have always been alone and never thought of having friends. Now this situation is exactly what I wish for." Nangong Chen spoke calmly, with a carefree tone in his voice. A Above his white clothes, there was a hazy glow, which made him look even more ethereal and mysterious. When everyone saw this scene, their eyes were shocked and then turned into complicated expressions. They looked at Nangong Chen's back with a hint of fear. They felt that they could not see through the double pupils, just like a vast ocean with no bottom. However, this kind of person is the most terrifying and the most difficult to deal with for them. Brother Nangong, Li Qixin, had a complicated expression on his face. He stretched out his hand, wanting to say something. After a few breaths, he put his hand down again. A hint of regret appeared in his eyes, and he hammered the wall beside him hard. If he was strong enough to suppress the Nine Realms geniuses, none of this would have happened today. It's all his fault. He's too weak. He has to see his friend off in front of everyone. At this moment, everyone present saw this scene and remained silent, with 1,000 thoughts in their minds. They didn't expect that, in the end, it was Nangong Chen who took the initiative to put an end to this farce. And the person with double pupils taking the initiative to propose, it means that he will not be able to advance to the next round. This made those who had bad intentions at the scene feel very comfortable. Chu Yin looked at Nangong Chen's back, feeling inexplicably sad, her eyes filled with complexity. She didn't expect that Nangong Chen would take the initiative to ask to leave. If possible, she would even give him her seed position. Jiang Yingyue's beautiful eyes flashed with a hint of meaning, and she looked at Nangong Chen with interest, wondering what she was thinking. Wang Tong seemed to have anticipated this. He felt inexplicably complicated, and there was some pity in his eyes. After all, shouldn't he have felt relieved the last time he was injured by Nangong Chen? Chao Li looked at Yi Guqing and the others with some anger, with murderous intent in his eyes. You guys, damn it. He didn't care about anything else. He only knew that Nangong Chen was his friend. As long as he was his friend, he would not tolerate others being presumptuous. Dazhu, why don't you speak? Shionda looked at Lu Dazui, who was standing beside him, and spoke. Lu Dazui looked serious, as if he was thinking about something. The man with double pupils didn't continue to embarrass Yi Guqing just now. Obviously, he discovered something. Could it be that he has already discovered the abnormality of Wen Shun and Wen Zhe? Then he didn't say it out loud, but kept it secret. Could it be that? Thinking of this, Lu Dazhu's pupils shrank slightly, and he took a deep breath, as if he had thought of something terrible. Nothing, just thinking about what to eat today. Lu Dazhu spoke only after his expression relaxed. Chapter 182 Star Envoy Rules, Qi Yao's Past. When Xionda saw this, he did not become suspicious. He just responded casually and then lowered his head to write something in his little notebook. After seeing it, Lu Dazhu also leaned over and took a look at the contents. He was shocked, as if he had discovered a new world. I didn't expect this kid to be so terrifying. An inexplicable light flashed in his eyes, and suddenly his face tightened, as if a chill surged into his heart. He couldn't help but look at Xionda's eyes and became a little alert. On the other side, after Yi Guqing took a few pills, his face gradually regained some color and his breathing became steady, but he just sat there silently, without saying a word. Fellow Taoist Yi, why aren't you saying anything? Shouldn't you be happy that you've driven the person with double pupils away? Wen Shun smiled and glanced at him. Yes, if it weren't for your great contribution this time, fellow Taoist Yi, forcing this tyrant to make a choice, the one with double pupils wouldn't have given up so easily. It's all thanks to you. Wen Zhe also agreed with a smile, a hint of amusement flashing in his eyes. Shut up, Yi Guqing yelled, his face gloomy and his mind extremely upset. At this moment, he felt more and more that something was wrong, as if he had fallen into a trap. The two men from the Wen family were merely geniuses weaker than him. If they hadn't had their own ideas this time, why would he have submitted to them and allowed them to command him for so long? He was also proud. After hearing this, the two looked at each other and noticed the coldness in each other's eyes. However, they were very patient and did not continue to provoke Yi Guqing. They quietly went aside. Why did you suddenly stop just now? Seeing Nangong Chen coming back, Su Li couldn't help but ask. Nangong Chen said indifferently and meaningfully, "You'll know after you go in." He kept his secret and didn't directly say why. Of course, he is the only one who knows the reason. Since those people want to fight each other, let them do it. It just so happens that he can also witness a big show, so why not do it? As for whether these two seemingly blood god cult members would kill other people, that was none of his business. He was not a saint, so why should he tell them? Nangong Chen's eyes moved, and he smiled. Seeing this, Su Li pouted a little, not understanding why Nangong Chen was keeping it a secret. However, Nangong Chen didn't say much, so she didn't continue asking. Since he wanted her to see it, she would go into the immortal treasure and take a good look. Boom! At this moment, a ray of fairy light exploded in the central star hall, and an ethereal figure walked out of it. This person was wearing a starry robe, and his features were covered by a mist, making it impossible to tell his true gender, whether he was a man or a woman. I'm the Star Envoy, and I am the examiner of your immortal treasure trial. The Star Envoy spoke, his voice without a trace of emotion, as if he were a machine. When the geniuses from the 9 realms present saw this, all of them were filled with respect and shock. Some of them knew that the examiner of the previous session was just a divine thought, and that divine thought was just a thought of the Star Envoy. Now, the legendary Star Messenger has arrived in person. Even the gods in the Burial Sky realm restrained their arrogance after seeing this person, as if the person in front of them was as terrifying as a flood or a beast. Nangong Chen was also quietly sizing this person up, his pupils shining. Suddenly, Nangong Chen's face trembled, and he quickly withdrew his gaze, his heart filled with shock. He actually saw a powerful force in it that could span the heavens and the earth. It was a power he had never seen before, vast and boundless, surging to the extreme. Even the saints in Xiantian territory did not give him such a great shock. It was as if he had seen the ghost-faced woman from that day. Within her body, there was also boundless and terrifying power. But in comparison, the stars are smaller. The Star Envoy seemed to sense something and glanced in the direction of Nangong Chen. There was actually a hint of ripples in those cold eyes. Then, the Star Envoy glanced at Su Li beside him and was stunned for a moment, as if he had seen something terrifying. Respect flashed in his eyes, but he quickly looked away. Seeing the Star Envoy looking over, the Xiantian territory's heavenly pride felt as if they were facing a formidable enemy, as if they were being watched by some powerful being. They felt uneasy, not knowing why the other party was looking at them like that. When the Star Envoy's gaze shifted, they secretly breathed a sigh of relief. This feeling of oppression is too strong, far beyond the reach of the strong man at home. Only Nangong Chen knew that all this was caused by him, but his heart was always as calm as water, and others could not see it. Su Li was stunned for a moment. It seemed like the other party was sizing her up. She didn't know if it was her illusion. It's interesting that he actually found me. At this moment, Qi Yao stretched lazily and said softly. A hint of spring appeared under the enchanting fiery red skirt. She looked at the figure under the starry robe, and a hint of amusement appeared in her narrow and charming eyes. Of course, she was not very surprised that the other party could see it. After all, the other party was a law. But what shocked her was that in addition to the 10 domains, there really was an 11th domain. However, it seems that the world will of this domain is still in its infancy and is not as mature as other domains. Of course, it is also relatively fragile. It's no wonder that the other party was so respectful when he saw her. In my previous life, the spirits from other worlds were incredibly arrogant, as if they owed them money. One of them left a particularly deep impression on me. I think it was from the Wild Realm. I accidentally provoked her, and she punched me, causing the rules of the universe to collapse. Ooh, noticing that Qi Yao had woken up, Su Li asked. In the past few days, Qi Yao has been sleeping frequently, as if she had a strange disease. According to her, it seems that her soul is about to transform to the next level. At that time, she will be even more powerful. Who else is there? Isn't it the law before your eyes? Qi Yao responded, rubbing her eyes hazily and yawning in response. But I heard from others that his name is Star Envoy. Isn't it? Su Li was a little puzzled, her ice-blue eyes full of doubt. It's not wrong to call it that. But he is indeed the embodiment of a law. Of course, I will tell you about this later, so don't ask now. Seeing that Su Li was about to become a curious baby again, Qi Yao held her forehead and said quickly. After Su Li heard this, some black lines appeared on his forehead, and he looked at her with some resentment. Just wait for me to wake you up when you are sleeping. Come back to your senses. The Star Envoy coughed and explained, there's something spying on you from behind the Xiantian territory. I'm going to cover it up for a while. Once you enter the immortal hidden realm, I can recover. After hearing this, everyone in Xiantian domain suddenly realized. So that's what happened. They thought they had done something. But at this moment, the outside world has exploded. Chapter 183 Interruption, External Reactions. What's going on? The picture is interrupted. At this moment, someone outside exclaimed, yeah, what the hell is going on? Did something unexpected happen to the Chu family? You cut me off just when I was having the most fun. Give me back my money. Give me back. That's not right. It seems we didn't pay either. In an instant, the crowd was in an uproar, with unhappy looks on their faces, causing a commotion. The pupils of those powerful people in the void shrank slightly. If they saw it correctly, a supreme figure appeared in the sea crossing. Just by taking a look from a distance, he felt an endless pressure coming towards him, and his face trembled for a moment. Being able to make their hearts tremble even across a space and time, one can only imagine what kind of existence the owner of this figure must be. This is not something that an ordinary saint can do. I'm afraid that the sudden interruption of this projection was also caused by that existence. For a moment, these powerful people felt a little nervous. On the other side, in the Chu mansion, Chu Shana also saw this scene, lowered his head, and secretly felt the connection with the spiritual realm. A wisp of spiritual thought rushed to the spiritual realm, and then disappeared, as if it was sucked in. Chu Shana felt it, his eyes filled with shock, and he murmured, "There's no connection at all. Could it be that that person took action? I don't know if I can recover later." Chu Shana's eyes flickered. If the other party did it on purpose, they probably wouldn't be able to project those images while crossing the sea. After that person appeared, the projection was cut off, which means that the other party simply did not want to show up, and there might be another chance to project later. Knock knock. At this moment, the noise outside the door came in. After hearing this, Chu Shanha called his servant over, gave him some instructions, and let him go. Soon, the people outside the Chu mansion became much quieter and no longer as agitated as before. It turns out that this isn't a problem with the Chu family. It turns out that the projection was interrupted. So, we have misunderstood the Chu family. Do we still have a chance to see the immortal treasure? Didn't Patriarch Chu say there's still a glimmer of hope? We might see it soon. Could he be lying? Everyone was talking quietly, and their expressions relaxed a lot. At this moment, driven by the popularity of the immortal treasure, the entire Chu city was bustling with people everywhere. Even the usually deserted small restaurants were sold out, leaving some people who wanted to spend the night there crying and wailing. At the same time, the vendors on the roadside could not suppress their smiles. Their goods had been sold out early in the morning, leaving them with some free time. They closed their stalls early, placed a wooden chair in front of their house, and lay leisurely watching the projection of the immortal treasure. Even now, the projection was briefly extinguished, and the topics discussed by everyone were mostly about what had just happened. Just now I thought the person with double pupils would be very angry after learning about these things, but I didn't expect him to be so calm. In comparison, the aggressive Yi Guqing is really embarrassed. Yeah, and they were even suppressed by the double pupil master. TSK, 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 the second sequence Sun Palace doesn't dare to say a word in front of the double pupil master. After all, they're fourth on the heavenly ranking. I think this Sun Palace is really declining. You know what? That cowardly look just now is indeed quite different from how he was at the beginning. It really refreshed my impression of these geniuses. Now it seems that they are also human beings. Ha ha ha. In Zoatian Pavilion, cheerful voices were heard. Of course, it didn't take long for everyone to turn the topic back to Nangong Chen. When talking about people with double pupils, they showed a hint of regret. What a shame. I didn't expect the person with double pupils to compromise and withdraw in the end. But such a carefree demeanor is rare in this world. That's right. But this also means that he won't be able to participate in the second round. How is it possible to fight against other domains alone? Forcing a top genius away. This outcome is unacceptable to anyone. I guess those supporters of the Sun Palace are all overjoyed right now. Human nature, human nature. These people shook their heads and drank heavily, their throats suddenly burning with pain. But even so, they still had a wry smile on their faces, their eyes thoughtful. I'm afraid that the one with double pupils must be feeling even more upset than them. After all, he was sent out of the team by someone from his own domain. Tianyuan Dynasty. Although the video was interrupted at this moment, all the civil and military officials in the court were indignant and looked very dissatisfied. Now that they forced the prince away, they're satisfied, right? If I had known I would be treated like this after entering, I shouldn't have gone there in the first place. Damn it, this Yi Guqing is too aggressive. After the prince left, these cold-blooded guys are not worth associating with. Even if the prince is alone, I believe he can still enter the second round. When they thought of Nangong Chen's back as he turned around, they felt furious and their eyes turned red. Just because of a single sentence, they forced the evildoers from East Shenzhou to retreat. These people are really too much of a bully. It's as if they see their own children entering other environments and being severely humiliated and bullied by others, and they have to watch it happen. But even so, they still chose to believe in Nangong Chen, because in their eyes, Nangong Chen was an undefeated myth, and no matter where he was shining brightly. Nangong Zhan, on the other hand, was much calmer at this moment. He was not as angry as he was at the beginning, and there was a hint of thought in his eyes. That kid never lies. Since he said he wanted to be alone, it means he really wants to fight alone. In this case, the current situation is exactly what he wants. But one thing at a time, driving his son away is a fact. If he had been unable to go to Zhongshen's house in person, he would have destroyed the Sun God Palace long ago. Humph! This vengeance will soon be settled. Nangong Zhan snorted coldly, as if he had thought of something, and a hint of murderous intent flashed in his eyes. But my father is really stubborn. Even at his age, he still wants to show off. Looking at the empty seats nearby, he sighed. Just now, when Nangong Yu learned that Nangong Chen had provoked a venerable from the upper realm, His face changed, and he ran back to seclusion, saying that he would kill the Venerable with a sword in half a year. In response to this, several black lines appeared on Nangong Zhan's forehead. In fact, the trump card left by the child's mother is not something that Phantom is afraid of, let alone one Venerable, even if there are 100 Venerables. However, this was a trump card that the child's mother left behind before she left, not to mention that now more than 10 years have passed, the trump card that the child's mother gave him. He didn't dare to look, and he didn't dare to imagine what kind of shocking things were contained in that small brocade bag. Rookin, what exactly are you? Nangong Zhan sighed slowly, and the beautiful figure from that year appeared in his mind again. Chapter 184 Rules. Within the Immortal Treasure. Since you are qualified to enter the Immortal Treasure, it means that you are considered the top monsters in each domain. But even so, the number of monsters that died in previous years was enough to reach the 4th level, especially in the first round. The Star Envoy glanced over and spoke, his words cold and ruthless. As soon as these words were spoken, the expressions of some people present changed slightly, as if they had heard something horrible, while the expressions of others did not change at all, as if they had already expected it. What? 40% of the population? That means out of the 200 people in previous years, nearly 80 people died. Someone's pupil shrank slightly, and he spoke in a trembling voice. 80 people died out of 200 people, which is a terrifying number. Why didn't I get this information before I came here? People from other domains also raised questions. In response, they were met with mocking glances. Think carefully, could it be that your entire army was wiped out last time? Someone sneered. After hearing this, those people remained silent, with a hint of embarrassment in their eyes, as if they had just realized something. On the Xiantian territory side, Nangong Chen didn't react much after hearing this. Li Qixin had already told him about these things before he came. Su Li was the same. She had heard this information a long time ago, and there was not much emotion in her beautiful eyes. But it's too late for you to regret now. You should think about how to survive the first round of trials. Not long after, that cold voice sounded again. The Star Messenger's gaze was extremely deep, with a glint of light shining in it, as if he could see through the thoughts of many people present. After the words fell, some people in other domains were stunned, and their faces turned pale. But the Star Envoy ignored him and continued to talk to himself, his tone cold and like a machine. The first round of trials is called Alien. You will be in that immortal treasure house and slay those alien beasts. The 4 levels of cultivation of the alien at the Great Power Realm will correspond to the corresponding scores. 1, 2, 3, and 4. For a Divine King Realm Animus, killing an early stage 1 earns 5 points, a mid-stage 1 10 points, and a late stage 1 15 points. As for the peak stage, the highest score is 20 points. You must survive in the Immortal Treasure for 1 month. At noon 1 month later, the first round of trials will end, and everyone will be ranked. The top 25 will advance to the second round. After these words were spoken, everyone was shocked. They had not expected that this trial would last so long. You know, previous trials lasted for half a month. Moreover, what the hell was that so-called strange? This was the first time they had heard of it. The last time, they had only killed a monster. You know, these unknown things are the most terrifying. The other geniuses from the 9 realms took advantage of the time when the Star Envoy stopped to communicate with each other. I didn't expect it to take a month. Doesn't that mean it's even more dangerous? Yeah, what the hell is that strange? When the Star Envoy talked about it, it sounded so sinister. He doesn't seem like a good person. The changes this time are so big. I think even some of the people who came last time had a big reaction. On the other side, Xin Tianyu and others were also communicating in low voices. Overlord, was the thing you killed last time also this anomaly? Shionda asked, looking at Li Qixin. The others also looked over. After all, Li Qixin was the only one among them who had been there. Li Qixin had almost sorted out the information he had obtained, and he slowly spoke and looked at everyone. I don't know what this strange is. I only know that what we killed in previous years were just some ferocious beasts. However, the strength of those ferocious beasts is far beyond the reach of the demonic beasts in our Xiantian territory. The degree of reversion of their bloodlines is terrifyingly high. There are even some ancient species and even ferocious beasts from the prehistoric times. It's very dangerous for us. If we're not careful, we might lose our lives. What's changed this time is not only the duration, which has increased from half a month to a full month, but also the points reward. Let me give you an example. For example, in the last session, killing a ferocious beast at the peak of the Divine King realm only rewarded 10 points, but this time, it's a whopping 20 points. This is a full 10 points difference. It's not that the world spirit is being merciful and giving us more, but the change in combat power. A 10-point difference is enough to make a world of difference, a huge gap. In other words, although I don't know what kind of creatures the alien killed this time are, I can absolutely guarantee that these alien are definitely more powerful than the ferocious beasts before. After hearing this, everyone's eyes flickered and they couldn't help feeling a little nervous. If it were more powerful than the others, wouldn't that be even more dangerous for them? But at the same time, there seemed to be more points. When Shun and Wenza both gave each other meaningful looks. The information they got this time was far greater than they had imagined. Chapter 185, The Demon Tribe, intervenes. Not far away, Nangong Chen was also thinking with his head down after listening. What kind of creature is this so-called strange? But killing the strongest alien only gives 20 points, which is too little. He did not forget that he had one sign-in opportunity in the Immortal Treasure, and he did not know what the system would reward him this time. Forget it. I don't want to think too much about it. In this trial, we could just fight against the enemy with earth and block the water with earth. Nangong Chen shook his head, withdrew his mind, and stopped thinking about it. Interesting, this strangeness might not be simple. I always feel an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Chi Yao said thoughtfully. After Su Li heard this, her beautiful eyes lit up and she said, you know, if she could know in advance what kind of creature the strange was, she and Nangong Chen would be able to deal with it better. I forgot. It was too long ago. If I could see what it looked like after going in, maybe I could still remember it. Chi Yao shook her head and said helplessly. After hearing this, Su Li gritted her teeth and gave up. When you enter the Immortal Treasure, you'll have a bracelet in your hand that records your points and shows your ranking. Of course, if someone steals your bracelet, they can also devour their points and turn them into their own. Seeing that everyone had almost finished speaking, the Star Envoy spoke again, and there seemed to be a hint of meaning in his hazy facial features. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone became a little agitated. What? You can actually steal what others have earned. Doesn't that mean? Someone said loudly, as if he had thought of something, with an evil thought flashing in his eyes. This news undoubtedly gave some people some bad thoughts, especially those in the regions with stronger combat power. As for the rules for the second round, they will be announced in January. Good luck, everyone. A word of warning. Different is not easy. The Star Envoy spoke, his cold tone mixed with a hint of emotion that was hard to hear. As soon as he finished speaking, brilliant divine light burst out from everyone. At the same time, black vortexes appeared in the void, as if to send people into them. Everyone present felt a push that was about to send them into the vortex. This power can take you into the Immortal Treasure. Don't resist. Li Qixin shouted at the others. After hearing this, Xian Tianyu and others gave up resistance and allowed themselves to slowly rise into the air. Just wait for me, kid. Even if I can't kill you, I can still break your arms and legs to taste you. That's not impossible. On the other side of Mengyu, Wan Tianqing's eyes turned cold when he saw Nangong Chen, and he spoke with murderous intent. After hearing this, people from other domains also looked over. When they saw that familiar face, the deep memories just now suddenly emerged. Right. You were the one who said we were trash. Even if I can't get you later, I don't believe I can't get the people from your domain. These humans look so tender and delicate. They look delicious. Ha. Everyone, why don't you go in and eliminate the humans first? I really want to see the arrogant face of that human kid just now. The other domain geniuses sneered and looked at them with hostility. When Li Qixin heard this, he frowned. He didn't expect that people from other domains would have such a face. However, their Xintian domain is ranked 4th among the 10 domains, not by words but by strength. You can try it. Let's see who is looking for death. Li Qixin took out his halberd, his eyes flashed like lightning, and he shouted loudly. In an instant, a powerful aura burst out from him, causing many people's faces to change. They stared intently, a hint of fear in their eyes. I didn't expect that this human race is not so easy to mess with. At this time, Wen Shun also said with a smile, everyone, that kid has been kicked out of the team. If you want to cause trouble for them, go ahead and do it. It has nothing to do with us. He pointed at Nangong Chen, a hint of teasing in his eyes. After hearing this, Li Qixin's face turned cold, and he gritted his teeth. What are you doing? After hearing this, Wen Shun sneered and did not respond. Do you really think you're invincible? You're just a junior. Once you get in, you'll have to pay the price. After hearing this, the people from other domains' eyes lit up, and they looked at Nangong Chen with greed in their eyes. That's right. In that case, we'll give you some face and not target you. Let's go and torture that brat. Ha. Someone among them spoke up and continued with this sentence. On the other side of the God Clan, the ethereal young man took one look at this place and said darkly, don't torture him to death. I'm going to take his head off with my own hands. Otherwise, whoever kills me, I will kill him. Xuanjie's words were calm, but they carried a tremendous pressure. After hearing this, everyone's eyes were filled with fear. They didn't dare to say anything more and could only bow their heads and agree. There was no way. This person was the champion of the previous immortal collection. His strength was terrifying to the extreme. It was not an exaggeration to say that he was the strongest this time, but no one was willing to provoke such a terrifying existence. Li Qixin secretly said, "Oh no." He knew how terrifying this existence was. Even he had no chance of winning. In front of him, they could only flee. It was conceivable how powerful Xianjie, as the leader of the God Clan, was. He could only secretly send a message to Nangong Chen, asking him to dodge the first round and then exit the immortal treasure. Only then would there be a glimmer of hope. Otherwise, he couldn't bear to see Nangong Chen being killed by him. Just as Li Qixin was about to transmit his message, a pleasant voice also rang out. "We in the demon realm have secured his head. If you dare kill us." Hu Yaoyao spoke, and her narrow and charming eyes revealed a hint of danger. When these words were spoken, everyone in the audience was shocked and could hardly believe what they had just heard. Li Qixin showed a look of joy, and his body was very excited. That is the demon realm, which is second only to the burial sky realm. The gap between the two is negligible. Now that someone in the demon realm has spoken, it means that Nangong Chen is saved. Soon, he looked towards the crowd, wanting to see where Nangong Chen was and tell him the good news. "Brother, don't look for him anymore. He left with the Ice Phoenix Goddess a long time ago," Li Muxiu said helplessly. Li Qixin was a little confused. The gods were also a little surprised when they heard that it was the demons who said that, and then a surge of anger filled their hearts. "What do you demons mean? Are you trying to go against us gods?" Someone among the gods spoke loudly. "You know, the burial sky realm and the demon realm have always been at odds with each other. This is a fact." When the people from other domains saw this, their eyes lit up and they wished they would fight. After all, these two are the two strongest factions among them. If they remain stable, it will be very disadvantageous for them. "Why?" Xuanjie said coldly, a hint of confusion flashing in his eyes. When he said it before, the other party didn't react in any other way. Now he suddenly spoke out. "Isn't this a naked defiance of him? You guess." Hu Yaoyao smiled, made a face, and then entered the vortex and disappeared from everyone's sight. Xianjie clenched his fists. A trace of anger appeared on his forehead, and he said coldly, "I want to see how you can stop me." Then he stepped in, and the gods behind him followed closely behind him and disappeared on the spot. After seeing it, others were inevitably disappointed, as they had thought they could see a big show. After a few breaths, the place was empty. Everyone entered the immortal storage. Chapter 186. World Spirit G Phone. Sign in to the Tao level formation. When there was no one in the sea, the star envoy looked at the red figure in front of him with some helplessness and said respectfully, "Empress Qi Yao, this time, the immortal has hidden away, and you cannot enter. I hope you can understand." Qi Yao ignored him. Her phoenix eyes stared straight at a point in the starry sky. She said coldly, "How dare you try to drive me away? How dare you? Do you know who that girl is? If anything unexpected happens in the immortal treasure, can you, a new world spirit, bear the wrath of this empress?" As soon as he finished speaking, an extremely terrifying pressure erupted from Qi Yao. This is the first time Qi Yao has been so angry since her rebirth. In an instant, the surging imperial power, like a mountain, formed a domain that enveloped the entire sea. The star envoy fell to his knees, and a hint of fear appeared in his emotionless eyes. At this moment, the entire 10 realms felt it, and countless creatures looked towards the 9 domes of heaven. There was a dazzling fire phoenix. The crimson sky turned into a rolling sea of fire, covering the entire sky and burning the sky, as if a natural disaster had come. When those creatures saw this scene, their pupils shrank slightly, and a thought of surrender came into their minds. The next moment, they all kowtowed to the fire phoenix. The true phoenix has revealed its divine power. "Don't kill me, don't kill me. Oh my God, what kind of natural disaster is this? Is the 10 realms going to collapse?" While crossing the sea, countless huge stars exploded with brilliant sparks, as if it was the end of the world. Just a ray of imperial power was enough to make all the creatures in the 10 realms feel terrified. It was hard to imagine what Qi Yao's power was like at her peak. The star envoy secretly swallowed his saliva and lowered his head tightly. He was just an incarnation of a law and was not comparable to this quasi-emperor at all. The gap between the two is like the difference between an ant and an elephant. At this moment, on the other side of the distant starry sky, seeing this scene, a soft sigh was heard. He had not expected that even Qi Yao, who had not yet reached her peak, could actually unleash such a powerful force. If this thing were to enter the immortal treasure, I'm afraid it would tear his world apart. "Empress Qi Yao, I had no choice but to take you out. Your presence is too powerful and will have an impact on that world." The childish voice sounded with an apologetic tone. Qi Yao snorted coldly. the meaning of which was self-evident. But I swear to you that the girl will not be in any danger within the immortal treasure. When the time comes, I will grant her a great opportunity. The world spirit of the 11th realm spoke. He used rules to conceal the conversation between the two, so that even the star envoy could not hear their conversation. It's just a great opportunity. How big can it be? The opportunities one have obtained are not as many as yours. Who would appreciate this point of yours? Qiao was still a little angry and said disdainfully, "Then I will grant the young man beside him a great opportunity. Do you think this is a good idea?" The spirit of the world continued to speak humbly. "Okay, I'll accept it, but you have to give them more." Qiao's beautiful face finally softened a little, and she continued calmly, then paused. "If this emperor finds out that you've been using some rotten fish and shrimp to make up for it, you'll be finished." "I dare not, I dare not." The spirit of the world quickly shook his head and said. After seeing this, Qiao stopped making things difficult for him, and instead turned into a flash of fire and disappeared. After a long time, the spirit of the world saw that she had really left, and then appeared in the form of a boy. "Grown-ups," the star envoy hurriedly said respectfully, a line of cold sweat appearing on his forehead. The boy just glanced at him, then fixed his gaze on a glittering crystal ball, shook his head, and said, "It's not your fault. No one would have thought that this person would enter this immortal treasure." Then, the boy looked at the two figures in the crystal ball, a look of pain on his face. "Strange, that girl is the reincarnation of Empress Qiao. But why is the young man next to her so hard to understand? But for him to have such a good relationship with the reincarnation of Empress Qiao, there must be something special about him. Oh, forget it. It seems I'll have to bleed a lot this time, so I'll just consider it a good karma." The boy muttered to himself, a maturity that did not belong to his age appearing on his face. Inside the immortal treasure house. Ding! The host has arrived at the immortal treasure. "Do you want to sign in?" A cold voice sounded from Nangong Chen's mind. "Sign in." Hearing this familiar voice, Nangong Chen spoke without hesitation. "Ding! Reward, Tao-level formation experience. God-level formation, 9 sky, star array." After hearing this, Nangong Chen was a little stunned, and then a light flashed in his eyes. "I didn't expect that the thing I signed in this time was actually related to the formation." In an instant, memories like a tide flooded into Nangong Chen's mind. After a few breaths, Nangong Chen opened his eyes showing shock. Tao-level formation experience, as the name suggests, is the experience of a master at the Tao level. In other words, his understanding of formations had already reached the maximum level. He could even rival some of the strongest who had achieved enlightenment through formations. The effects brought about by the means of the entry level are even more incredible. Not only can your formation be several times stronger than the formation carved by ordinary people, the power it unleashes is more than 10 times stronger. The gap between the two can be said to be as huge as heaven and earth. Of course, compared to ordinary formation masters, the difference in speed is also huge. Ordinary formation masters may spend more than several months to carve a heavenly formation, but he can complete the formation in just a few breaths. Just imagine, when fighting with others, he can easily form a formation and surround the opponent in an instant, and he can also enhance himself and reverse the situation. Hiss! Thinking of this, Nangong Chen's eyes were a little horrified. He really unlocked a new way of fighting. But unfortunately, this is the only method he has, and he has not learned other advanced formations. After he goes out, he has to learn other formations so that he can use them in actual combat. But he didn't really need it. To him, the formation was ultimately an external object. If it could be used to unlock some opportunities and treasures, that would be great. Of course, the biggest surprise this time was the God-level formation, the 9 Sky Star formation. The 9 Sky Star Array was created by the Immortal Array Emperor when he was at the Immortal King level. It is a super killing weapon. It is said that when the Array Emperor was at the Immortal King level, he used this array to kill dozens of Immortal Kings. It's definitely a super killing weapon with a large range. Chapter 187 Black Striped Blood Spider. Thinking of this, Nangong Chen couldn't help but feel a little excited. If that was the case, wouldn't this formation be able to kill countless anomalies during this immortal collection? By then, the points he would have earned would reach an astonishing level. He wouldn't even need to do anything. He only needed to set up the formation within a month. Isn't this just making him a cheater? Nangong Chen shook his head, looking somewhat helpless. He also wanted to have a fair fight, but there was no other way. He already had the cheat, and if he didn't use it, he would be disrespecting the system. As the dizziness dissipated, Li Qixin and others opened their eyes and saw the scene in front of them, and they couldn't help but lose their voices. This is the immortal treasure. Am I in the right place? Xionda looked at the pitch-black darkness in front of him, where he couldn't see his hand in front of him, and muttered. Of course, Everyone present was a leader among geniuses, and after a brief sigh, they quickly adapted to the situation. For them, they can see clearly even in the dark, but it is not as clear as in the daytime. No one spoke, but just looked around, quietly waiting for the instructions from the three seeds. After all, their mission was to allow them to enter the second round. Soon, a blazing candlelight lit up, illuminating the area within a radius of 10 miles. For a moment, everyone was dazed by the dazzling light. Dang, dang, dang. This is the Night-Bright Dragon Candle, a fine magical treasure for my Tianyuan Pavilion. I thought it would be kept in my storage ring forever, but I never thought it would be put to good use today. Lu Dazui said with a smile, holding a dragon head candle lamp. It still has to be you, Dazhu. Xiong said with some excitement that he was a person who practiced physical cultivation, but he had not learned any other magic spells, nor did he have the ability to see clearly in the dark. Now that Lu Dazui had taken out this magic weapon, it helped him solve this difficulty, which made him very moved. Li Qixin also gave Lu Dazhu a thumbs up, with a look of appreciation in his eyes. Although they can see everything clearly in the dark, there is still a considerable price to pay. For example, during battle, you still need to use secret methods to maintain your eyes. Now that everything is illuminated, they can deal with enemies they encounter better, which is definitely a good thing for their condition. After seeing this, Lu Dazhu scratched his head shyly. On the other side, Wen Shun and Wenzhen noticed that there was something wrong with his eyes, and they didn't know what he was thinking. Didn't this kid say he no longer had any magic weapons? Where did this thing come from? Yeah, I can actually feel that this dragon lantern has the effect of restoring physical strength. TSK, TSK, TSK. This kid is so cunning. I'm afraid he is lying to us. That's fine. Let him deceive me. Then I'll see how much the life of the young master of Tianyuan Pavilion can be exchanged for. Ha ha ha. But now is not the right time to expose ourselves. After all, the moon god and overlord are quite formidable. Even after we entered this realm, we were suppressed to the peak of the divine king. We must be cautious and look for the right moment to act. The two of them exchanged a brief conversation, and then looked at Lu Dazhu with a hint of greed in their eyes. On the other side, Li Qixin took a quick look around and breathed a sigh of relief when he found that no one was missing. Except for Nangong Chen and Su Li, all 18 people gathered here. When he thought of those two people, there was a complicated look in his eyes. Hope they can hold on for this month. He was not surprised that the Ice Phoenix goddess also left with a man with double pupils, because given the relationship between them, making this decision was inevitable. However, this also means that they are currently lagging behind the two top monsters compared to other domains. Everyone, since you have already entered the immortal treasure, then act as previously instructed. Do not go out alone. Otherwise, if you encounter a genius from the alien or other realms, it will be difficult to deal with. Li Qixin spoke slowly, looking at everyone, and did not forget to remind them. As for the rules mentioned earlier, they're naturally about distribution. They have 3 seeds, and who gets more points depends on the degree of effort of the seeds. Whoever contributes, more will naturally get more. This time, the main force in the Immortal Collection is the seeds, and the others are just helping out. Yes, everyone responded in unison. I believe other domains have already started searching for the anomaly. Without further ado, let's set off. But I don't know much about this strange. It might be completely different from the monster we killed last time. Li Qixin's face was solemn as he spoke slowly, but the next moment, he was interrupted by a sudden voice. Call out. Under the illumination of the night dragon candle, in the shadow of the pitch-black tree reaching into the sky, a blood-red gaze was staring at them, as if sizing up prey. After everyone saw the figure with this gaze, their pupils shrank slightly, and they were a little bit unbelievable. Is this a black-striped blood spider? No, this isn't a black-striped blood spider. Look at its eyes, they're red, and it has wings growing behind it as if it's transformed. Do you think this could be the strangeness that the Star Envoy mentioned? The black-striped blood spider coiled on the huge spider web slowly crawled out from the shadows. Its eyes were red, and it exuded a violent aura. It even had blood-red wings growing behind it. The black-striped blood spider was also looking at them, its tentacles at the corners of its mouth dancing constantly, as if calling for something. It's actually the peak of the Great Power Realm. Why do I feel that this aura is far more powerful than that of the Great Power Realm? There was a hint of shock in Shiming's beautiful eyes, and she spoke in a trembling voice. No problem. We have numbers and power. Since the first alien has come to us, we have no choice but to take it. Wang Tung spoke, a flash of lightning in his eyes. Boom. The next moment, countless murderous attacks erupted and rushed straight towards the mutated black-striped blood spider. In an instant, countless smoke and dust rolled up from the tree trunks. When everyone saw it, they also showed a look of joy. I didn't expect that killing the first alien would be so easy. Something's wrong. At this moment, Li Qixin spoke, his eyes full of vigilance. The black-striped blood spider was seen climbing on the ancient tree without any harm, and the spider webs it spit out actually blocked the killing attacks of so many geniuses. At this moment, in a hiding place not far away, blood-red lights suddenly lit up, densely packed, and the light behind him was still coming. After everyone saw the black-striped blood spiders in the lead, their faces changed. "It's broken, go!" Li Qixin made a decision immediately and shouted. Chapter 188 Bet. The reason is simple. Those blood-red lights are actually the black-striped blood spiders. The number of them is unimaginable. With so many black-striped blood spiders, no matter who comes, they will die here today. Everyone was shocked, and the next moment they turned into streams of light and fled. When the black-striped blood spider that had attacked earlier saw this, a look of cruelty appeared in its eyes, and it spit out several white spider webs, trying to stop them. These spider webs are not ordinary spider webs. They're the gift of the demonic pattern blood spider clan. They are indestructible, and their hardness is even comparable to that of some holy weapons. What's more, the spider webs spit out by these aliens are extremely poisonous. If you're contaminated by them, you will probably die on the spot. 2 people were trapped by the spider web because they ran slower. Seeing this, Li Qixin turned around, and the halberd in his hand gleamed brightly. A cold light fell, and in an instant, a narrow opening was cut out by him. "Go!" Li Qixin shouted. The situation was so urgent that even the black-striped blood spiders behind him had spit out more than a dozen spider webs and flew towards him. Li Qixin took action and instantly destroyed several spider webs, but some still pressed towards the 2 of them. The next moment, between the 2, only the man carrying the sword barely escaped. With a scream, the other person's legs were entangled and cut in half by the black-striped blood spider in an instant. Other black-striped blood spiders that came overacted as if they had never seen flesh and blood. They pounced on him and devoured him completely in one swoop, leaving not even a bone behind. In just a moment, Xiantian Domain had already lost 1 person. The man with the sword on his back saw this, and his eyes suddenly turned red. Hong Chun. He picked up the sword in his back and wanted to avenge him, but he was kicked away by the overlord. "Get out of here. I'm here to avenge your brother," Li Qixin said in a cold voice, then turned his head and looked at the group of black-striped blood spiders, his eyes full of murderous intent. He held a golden halberd in his hand, like a shocking divine thunder, crossing the sky and rushing towards the group of black-striped blood spiders. In an instant, green blood gushed out, and countless tentacles and broken limbs rolled on the ground. Soon, the corpses of the 2 black-striped blood spiders fell to the ground and were devoured by their fellow spiders. After a few breaths, their blood-red eyes turned to look at Li Qixin at the same time, and the aura they exuded was even stronger than before. "Call out." The next moment, these black-striped blood spiders jumped and rushed towards Li Qixin. At the same time, Overlord's points reached 8 points, temporarily ranking 52nd. "It's really difficult." Li Qixin frowned, casually cut off a spider web, and escaped. The other side, Nangong Chen was holding a torch and walking slowly in the mountains. Behind him was a beautiful figure. "Strange, how come we haven't encountered any strange creatures after walking for so long?" Su Li said with some confusion, looking at a virtual projection screen where the 0 score was very conspicuous. "Don't worry, it will be." Nangong Chen responded softly, threw a formation stone on the ground, and then continued to carve the next formation stone. Under the white clothes, there was only a shadow passing by. This action was so secretive that if Su Li had not observed it more than a dozen times on the way, she would probably have thought that Nangong Chen was just playing around. "What are you doing?" Su Li couldn't help but raise the question in his mind. "Carving formation." Nangong Chen did not hide anything and recalled. After hearing this, Su Li's beautiful eyes lit up and she asked, "You can also carve formations?" You know, formation masters enjoy a high status in the Xiantian domain. The formations they create at will are priceless and are sought after by countless powerful people. "I know a little bit." Nangong Chen smiled, responded softly, and threw another stone. "If you enter the Tao of formation, you will be able to." After she finished speaking, Su Li blinked her beautiful eyes, revealing a hint of disbelief. She didn't expect that Nangong Chen could know such a thing. It was really amazing. "Then you must not be very good at learning. After all, you spend all your time practicing." Su Li continued. Even if she had some admiration in her heart, she couldn't express it directly. Nangong Chen smiled but did not respond, concentrating on carving the formation stone in his hand. "I think we should go find the different to kill. Look at how quickly their scores are rising. If this continues, it will be very disadvantageous for us." Su Li looked at the virtual projection in the bracelet again and said softly, "Don't worry, I will help you advance to the second round." Nangong Chen dropped a stone and responded. After hearing this, Su Li was stunned for a moment, thinking that she had misheard. You help me? Then what are you going to do? She crossed her arms over her chest and looked at Nangong Chen with some anger. 3,000 silver threads fell on her shoulders like a waterfall, and her skin was as white as cream. Even when she was angry, she had a unique charm. Nangong Chen was a little amused. He looked at the formation stone in his hand and said calmly, Me? I rely on the formation. He didn't hide anything because there was no need. Ah, relying on formations. How can you rely on formations? Unless your formation is really powerful. Su Li was stunned, not quite sure what this guy was thinking. How could one person be so good at cultivation and other things? She originally thought that Nangong Chen's formation level should be that of an average formation master. Now from his tone, it seems that something is wrong. She casually picked up a stone that Nangong Chen had just dropped, and looking at the densely packed array carved on it, she felt a headache. If only Qi Yao were here, maybe she could see it. Su Li thought with some regret in her heart. It was a pity that Qi Yao didn't say anything after coming in, and no one knew what she was doing. Then she put the formation stone back in its place. How about a bet? Seeing that she didn't believe him, Nangong Chen raised his eyebrows and a smile appeared in his eyes. Let's bet. Su Li was not willing to be outdone. She wanted to see what Nangong Chen was up to. If I get the most points in 1 month, you have to agree to one condition of mine. Nangong Chen spoke with a playful tone. What conditions? Su Li asked, somewhat puzzled. Nangong Chen leaned over and whispered a few words in her ear. In an instant, Su Li's pretty face flushed. Then if you lose, you have to agree to one condition of mine. What conditions? I haven't thought about it yet. I'll talk about it later. Okay. Chapter 189 Red Moon, Ancient Forest. Just as the two were talking, a black shadow passed by the gloomy ancient tree, causing a rustling sound. Such a movement naturally could not escape Nangong Chen's double pupils. He looked indifferent, just glanced at that place with some meaning in his eyes, and continued to walk forward with Su Li. It must be said that the spiritual energy here is very abundant. These ancient trees that are thousands of years old reach into the sky, and there is no end in sight when you look up. Even the place where they were now was covered in darkness. It was obvious that it was only possible to do this because of the countless large leaves covering the area high up. Of course, compared to the mountains in Xintian territory, this place seemed even more primitive, as if it had never been here before, completely deserted and uninhabited. Strange, how come I haven't seen the moonlight after walking for so long? Su Li froze to death a few poisonous insects that came up and looked up at the sky with a hint of doubt in her beautiful eyes. This is indeed the case. In this space, there is not even a ray of light from the sky. Only the torch held by Nangong Chen is the only source of light in this darkness. Of course, this bright and dazzling light source also attracted a lot of movement. Nangong Chen looked up at the sky, his double pupils emitting astonishing light, as if he could see the scenery outside through the heavy leaves. When he saw the scene outside, Nangong Chen was stunned for a moment, then frowned and retracted his gaze. The moon here is actually red. Moreover, he looked far away and could see that the outer edge of the red moon was actually covered with a layer of blood mist, which was spreading towards the entire sky. Red moon, ancient forest, strange. Could there be any connection between this strangeness and this red moon? However, we can only make a specific judgment after seeing the so-called difference. Nangong Chen thought to himself, his eyes flashing. What's wrong? Seeing this, Su Li, who was standing by, focused her beautiful eyes and asked. Nangong Chen looked at her and told her everything he had seen without hiding anything. A red moon. Su Li was a little surprised. She didn't expect this place to be so weird. Nangong Chen nodded, then flicked his sleeves and continued walking forward. He could feel that there seemed to be some movement in front. When Su Li saw this, she hurriedly followed behind him, her steps like lotus flowers, her white hair fluttering in the wind, looking as beautiful as an immortal. After walking for an unknown amount of time, Nangong Chen stopped, and a murderous light shone in his double pupils. In the mountains not far away, there was a 6-armed demon ape fighting with a bloodthirsty bird. Boom! The waves caused by the battle between the two ferocious beasts were so earth-shaking that even the entire mountain range was shaking. In the shadows around, blood-red eyes were staring at this scene closely. The red light emitted was so terrifying that people couldn't help but feel fear when they saw it. Interesting, they're all ferocious beasts. Nangong Chen took a quick glance and discovered these ferocious beasts hiding in the shadows. Of course, compared to the two pure-blooded creatures that were fighting fiercely, these ferocious beasts were weaker in cultivation, and most of them were only at the powerful realm. However, the two 6-handed demon apes and the bloodthirsty bird had actually reached the late stage of the God King realm. It was no wonder that so many demon beasts gathered around to watch. He naturally understood their intentions. They wanted to wait for a pure-blooded creature to be defeated so they could share a piece of the spoils. At this moment, Su Li also came to his side. Seeing this scene, her beautiful eyes were a little shocked. The movement between the two people, especially the bright torch, naturally attracted the attention of many ferocious beasts in the darkness. They took a look over here and were a little surprised when they found that it was the human race. After all, in their eyes, the human race is the weakest race in this world, and they are devoured and slaughtered at will. How could there be any human race coming to this place? You know, this is the wilderness. Unless these two people came here by accident. Although these ferocious beasts were puzzled, they did not look at it for long. They quickly withdrew their gaze and looked at the battle situation. In their eyes, these two people were just two weak bugs that could be crushed to death with ease. There was no need to care about them. They would not have any impact on them at all. The six-armed demon ape in the battle, upon seeing this scene, was even more furious. Its 6 huge arms pounded its chest frantically, bang, bang, bang. The aura on its body, under the blessing of this anger, actually became a little stronger. He hadn't expected that the bloodthirsty sparrows would come to fight him today. Not only did these ferocious beasts want to attack him, but even the weak human race wanted to get a piece of the pie. This is a huge humiliation for him. Thinking of this, the 6-armed demon ape looked at the bloodthirsty bird with an increasingly dangerous look in his eyes, filled with terrifying murderous intent. When the bloodthirsty bird saw this, its slender eyes revealed a fierce light, and it flapped its wings and flew away. A surge of demonic power rose up and grabbed towards him. At this moment, the blood red in his eyes became even more dazzling. The power of this claw has far exceeded the full strength of ordinary beasts in the late stage of the God King realm, and is close to the peak of the God King. The 6-handed demon ape also had red eyes and roared angrily. The next moment, it burst out with astonishing speed, stepped on the void, and covered down with 6 giant hands, which contained tremendous power. Obviously, the oil lamps of these 2 ferocious beasts have run out. Seeing that more and more ferocious beasts are coming nearby, they want to unleash their strongest attack to decide the winner. Because only in this way can you defeat the opponent, devour the opponent, step into the peak of the God King, and deter other ferocious beasts. Otherwise, given their condition, if they continue to fight, I'm afraid that in the end, other ferocious beasts will take advantage of them. At this moment, all the ferocious beasts nearby stared at that place with greed in their eyes. Their bodies were tense, ready to tear off a piece of flesh and blood of the late God King after the end. This will be a huge improvement for them. It's almost over. Do you want to take action? Su Li murmured, and then looked at Nangong Chen beside her. She knew that Nangong Chen's purpose of coming here was definitely not just to watch the battle. No hurry, wait a moment. Nangong Chen responded, his eyes deep. He could see that there was still energy in the bodies of these 2 pure-blooded creatures. It was obvious that they were fishing at the moment. Of course, their purpose was not to kill the ferocious beasts watching the battle on the side. However, is this what the Star Envoy meant by strange? He could see that there was something wrong with both the 6-handed demon ape and the bloodthirsty bird. It was as if they had undergone a mutation. It would not be an exaggeration to say that they were several times stronger than their counterparts in the Xintian domain. The most obvious feature is their blood-red eyes, which are exactly the same as those of the other ferocious beasts here. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. So, is this what they call strangeness? It seems to be closely related to the red moon I just saw. Nangong Chen thought about it. His eyes lit up, and he felt a little enlightened. Chapter 190, Panic and Thunder. Boom! In the void, the 6-handed demon ape and the bloodthirsty bird collided, erupting with earth-shaking power. The mountains and rivers were flattened, the earth shook, and the wave was extremely powerful. The monsters that were watching had bloodshot eyes. They gritted their teeth and held on with all their might, not retreating, wanting to see who would win in the end. Seeing this scene, Su Li also revealed a cold smile. How greedy. Everyone knows what the other ferocious beasts here are thinking. Nangong Chen smiled and said thoughtfully, greed comes at a price. In the huge pit, the smoke and dust receded, and the 6-handed demon ape fell to the side, his body covered with scars, and the eerie white bones exposed in his chest. Even the 6 hands were chopped off, only 3 were left, and his face was full of unwillingness. It can be sensed that the vitality of the 6-handed demon ape is gradually disappearing. When the ferocious beasts saw this scene, they were delighted and then turned their gaze to the bloodthirsty bird on the other side. The bloodthirsty bird was also in a bad condition. One of its wings was pulled out by the 6-handed demon ape, and blood was dripping. Even its sharp claws were a little deformed at this moment. Seeing this scene, the ferocious beast's eyes widened, and they couldn't help swallowing their saliva, their eyes full of greed. They were overjoyed, as they had not expected that today's decisive battle between the two overlord beasts would end in a situation where both sides suffered heavy losses. The next moment, a black wolf with black wings behind it and bloodshot eyes rushed towards the six-handed demon ape in an instant. He is very powerful, reaching the peak of the powerful realm. If he can swallow the opponent's flesh and blood, he will be able to break through today. Seeing this, the other ferocious beasts became very excited and rushed towards them. Kill them. The six-handed demonic ape and the bloodthirsty bird are both injured. Now is the time for us to take action. A thought in my mind tells me that as long as I eat him, I will become stronger. I will devour the bloodthirsty bird's flesh and blood, letting him feel the pain. He is so cruel to me that he can't bully my people like this. Six-armed demonic ape, I've been fed up with you for a long time. Give me your life. For a moment, these ferocious beasts spoke in animal language, and their eyes were very red. Nangong Chen and Su Li had learned the language of the beastmen before, so they could naturally understand what they were saying. The two didn't say much, just watched the scene quietly. When the six-armed demon ape saw so many ferocious beasts rushing towards him, he also had a look of despair on his face and roared angrily, as if it was his last resistance before death. Get out of here, you weak reptile! This reaction further strengthened the minds of those ferocious beasts. Their eyes were bloodshot as they rushed forward, their hearts filled with excitement. On the other side, the ferocious beasts looked at the dying bloodthirsty bird and rushed forward. However, the next moment something strange happened. The six-handed demon ape had blood-red eyes and an extremely cruel look in his eyes. He emitted a terrifying aura and used his three giant hands to form palms and slap towards them. Die! You, a bunch of losers, dare to spy on my body. When the flying wolf saw this, he was shocked and turned around to fly away. But he was firmly locked by the terrifying aura and could not move. No, you are pretending to lure us here. Fishanlang realized something was wrong, and his voice trembled. In an instant, a group of ferocious beasts were beaten into blood foam. There was a look of madness in the eyes of the six-handed demon ape as he devoured the blood. For a moment, his pale face regained a hint of color. A cruel smile appeared on his lips, his eyes full of greed as he looked at the other monsters that were coming. When the monsters saw this scene, their eyes were filled with despair. The same was true for the bloodthirsty bird on the other side. After those ferocious beasts arrived, the bloodthirsty bird swallowed them one by one as tonics, and its vitality was constantly recovering. At this time, the ferocious beasts realized that this was a trap set by the six-handed demon ape and the bloodthirsty bird. They fled backwards as if they had lost their souls, wanting only to escape. Just now, the six-handed demon ape and the bloodthirsty bird only killed hundreds of ferocious beasts, but those that escaped were more than 1,000, which was the bulk of the loss this time. Let's take action and deal with these powerful beings first. Nangong Chen saw this, his eyes flashed, and he spoke. At this time, these ferocious beasts are panicked and unable to resist. This is the best opportunity. Su Li nodded, and with a wave of her white hand, a long sword as white as jade came down from the sky. Formation, Nangong Chen said softly, like the whisper of death. The next moment, just as the ferocious beasts were about to escape, they bounced back with a clang as if they had hit something hard. These ferocious beasts were stunned for a moment, and then looked at the slowly rising dark yellow barrier. Their pupils shrank, somewhat incredulous. It's a formation. Who set it up? Who set it up? It must be those two humans. Only humans know how to use formations. Damn it, cunning human race. The ferocious beasts were furious and turned around with eyes full of resentment. They want to find those two humans and kill them. Am I the one you're looking for? At this moment, a cold whisper suddenly sounded. In the void, divine thunder flashed all over the sky, and a vast sea of thunder filled the entire sky. In the center, there was a figure in white, wearing the armor of the Thunder Emperor. He had a cold expression and a terrifying aura, like a god descending from heaven. After seeing this scene, the ferocious beasts were shocked. After they realized what was happening, their hearts were filled with fear. Panic thunder fall, Nangong Chen said in a cold voice, as if the emperor had ordered that corpses would float for thousands of miles. The next moment, countless divine thunders shot down from the sky and transformed into thunder dragons with terrifying auras and ferocious faces. The oppressive feeling they brought was enough to make them lose all desire to resist. Boom! White lightning burst out from the ground, illuminating the dark night sky. It's dawn. At this moment, in an invisible place, the points in Nangong Chen's hands are growing rapidly. On the other side, Su Li was also standing on the sky, with 3,000 silver threads scattered behind her, and her beautiful face showed a cold look. True Phoenix treasure technique. Phoenix falls from the sky. The next moment, the ice phoenix mark between Su Li's eyebrows bloomed with brilliant light. Her skin was crystal clear, and she was extremely beautiful, like a female emperor descending. In the void, a phoenix cry resounded through the ninth heaven, and a lifelike ice phoenix rushed downwards with terrifying power. In the eyes of the icy phoenix, there was a gleam of phoenix might, and the suppression from the bloodline instantly made countless ferocious beasts kneel to the ground. Chapter 191. So talkative. Boom. When the ice phoenix descended, it brought with it a bone-chilling aura that transformed all living things into ice statues, including the ferocious beasts. After a few breaths, the ice sculptures shattered one by one, and the remaining ferocious beasts here were all dead. When the six-armed demon ape saw this scene, he was also stunned, as if he had seen something terrifying. He couldn't imagine that such a terrifying move was actually performed by two humans. Especially that ice phoenix, that phoenix aura made him want to kneel down and worship. On the other side, the bloodthirsty bird did the same, with its eyes wide open, full of disbelief. Fuck. This scene frightened him so much that he uttered human words. It is conceivable how shocked he was at that moment. I didn't expect these two humans to be hiding so deeply. The bloodthirsty bird spoke, his tone full of shock. Damn it. Why are there humans here? The six-armed demon ape, with a look of unwillingness on its face, pounded heavily on the ground. Unexpectedly, their plan failed at this moment. At this moment, Nangong Chen and Su Li in the void looked over with a condescending look, as if they were looking down at ants. Nangong Chen didn't waste any words. In a flash, countless divine thunders fell and rushed towards the six-handed demon ape and the bloodthirsty bird. Etc. Just as the six-handed demon ape was about to say something, the divine thunder had already fallen. Boom! A late-stage god king in a weak state could hardly withstand such an attack and turned into a charred corpse in an instant. On the other side, the bloodthirsty sparrow saw this, his eyes bloodshot, and gritted his teeth and said, "Despicable human race, if I hadn't fought so hard before in my peak condition, I wouldn't be afraid of you too. Despicable, despicable, Lord Chaos. I will definitely punish you. I'm waiting for you." Before he could finish his words, countless ice cones fell and pierced his body to death. "You talk a lot." Su Li snorted coldly and smoothed the white hair beside her ear. Seeing this, Nangong Chen looked at the corpse below with some sadness and shook his head. "Why did you offend this lady when you could have offended anyone else?" The commotion that occurred here naturally attracted many ferocious beasts in the forest to look here. What happened? Nothing good must have happened. Let's go somewhere else. Some ferocious beasts had a brief exchange and then left. Just today, they received an inexplicable message in their minds. It was said that many human beings seemed to have stepped into the wilderness and came to their territory. Now, many monsters have come out and are frantically searching for these humans. You know, humans are a great tonic, especially for these ferocious beasts, not to mention these humans who have practiced cultivation. At this moment, in the outside world, it's light, it's finally light. Inside Chu City, someone shouted, and everyone looked up at the sky. They were shocked by what they saw. In the void, the projection regained its brilliance and revealed the scene in the immortal treasure. Soon, the news spread faster and faster. Many people who were still asleep heard about it, and came out with their families to grab a good spot. Not long after, the entire Chu City returned to its previous bustle. The picture showed the scene of Li Qixin and others just entering the immortal treasure house. Strange, why is it so dark? Could it be that there is still a problem? No, look, there are clearly several figures. I see. So, in that case, the immortal treasure is completely dark. Everyone talked about it. The powerful beings in the void were also watching intently. Even they had never been to the immortal treasure, but they wanted to see what the scene was like inside. Soon, a light came on in the picture, instantly illuminating the surrounding area. Not only that, but even the surrounding area can be seen clearly within a few miles, just like in the daytime. When everyone saw the figure holding the lantern, their pupils shrank. "Oh my God, isn't this the young master of Tianyuan Pavilion? He even gave us money before we entered the immortal treasure." I was wondering who it was. It turned out to be him. The lamp in his hand must be extraordinary. This, as expected of a young master of Tianyuan Pavilion. We are so envious. On the other side, in the void, the middle-aged man with a round belly scratched his head embarrassedly when he saw so many eyes looking at him. My kid is not very good at anything else, so he only brought a few magic weapons this time. A little bit? A little bit. Oh, don't worry about the little details. At this moment, the scene changed again. Everyone saw a spider several meters long on the ancient tree, sizing up Li Qixin and the others with bloodshot eyes. As the perspective changed, everyone could see the huge spider clearly and couldn't help but tremble in their hearts. because this is really too terrifying. Many people have never been to the mountains, not to mention that this is a mutated black-striped blood spider. Strange, why are the eyes of this black-striped blood spider so red? Shouldn't they be white? Soon, some people who had seen it felt something was a little off and raised questions. Of course, no one here understands these things, so how can anyone answer them? What's more, these are creatures that appeared from the immortal treasure house. Look, they're about to attack, someone exclaimed. Everyone looked at it and saw that in the picture, the geniuses of Xiantian domain rushed towards the black-striped blood spider, and countless killing techniques were used in an instant. They showed joy on their faces. They didn't expect that these monsters in Xiantian territory would open so soon. However, the next moment, the scene presented on the screen made them feel like they were struck by lightning. It was seen that when those killing techniques were used, the black-striped blood spider, which was at the peak of the powerful realm, was not hurt at all. Not even a little bit of damage was caused. Damn, this must be fake. No, why is this happening? Could it be that the black-striped blood spider has an indestructible body? Everyone was very surprised. The spider webs spit out by the black-striped blood spiders are not so easy to destroy. Besides, this is their territory, and they have laid a lot of spider webs. It's normal that the black-striped blood spiders are unharmed. At this time, someone explained. After hearing this explanation, these people suddenly understood. So that's how it is. At this moment, the picture changed again. Rays of blood-red light were approaching here madly. It was extremely creepy under the shadow, making some people's scalps numb. Soon, everyone saw the figures with blood-red eyes and was a little bit unbelievable. Holy crap, they're all black-striped blood spiders? In the picture, those geniuses reacted quickly and responded instantly, turning into streams of light and fleeing from here. Chapter 192 Winning. Those red lights, could they all be? Some people haven't reacted yet and guessed. The next moment, the scene that appeared on the screen was something they would never forget. They saw densely packed black-striped blood spiders emerging from the shadows, their eyes blood-red and silver-white spider silk spitting out of their mouths. At this moment, these black-striped blood spiders were looking at Li Qixin and others with greed. In an instant, more than a dozen spider webs were spit out and flew in the air at an extremely fast speed, directly blocking the two people at the end. When everyone saw this scene, their eyelids twitched and they were shocked. Now they knew why those geniuses ran so fast. It turned out that they had poked a spider's nest. With so many demonic pattern blood spiders, I'm afraid that no matter who comes today, they will be killed here. Hiss! That's Hong Chen, ranked 15th on the heavenly ranking, and Wu Jian, ranked 16th on the heavenly ranking. Oops, they're trapped. At this moment, someone recognized the two people under the white spider web and exclaimed in surprise. Upon hearing these two names, some of the geniuses present looked intently and were shocked, obviously having heard of these names before. The next moment, in the projection, Hong Chen used up all his strength, almost exhausted, and tried to break the spider webs with powerful palm winds. On the other side, Wu Jian was in a better situation. There were not so many magic pattern blood spiders surrounding him, but he was still trying his best to resist, and his face was pale. However, this spider web is a gift from the demonic pattern blood spider clan, and its hardness is beyond their current strength to break. In the scene, Hong Chen tried his best to barely repel the two magic beads, but the next moment, a cold light shot up into the sky and killed Hong Chen. Hong Chen's eyes widened. He hadn't known when a magic pattern blood spider had already touched the top of his head. At this moment, he was no longer able to resist. Not far away, Li Qixin saw this scene and burst out with all his strength. His face turned ashen, and the spear in his hand flew like the wind. He moved at an extremely fast speed, wanting to rescue Hong Chen. However, it was still a step too slow. Fresh blood gushed out all of a sudden, and Hong Chen was instantly cut into half. Seeing this, the black-striped blood spiders swarmed over and devoured him, leaving nothing behind. Hong Chen, a heart-wrenching roar rang out in the void. That is the leader of the Wuji sect. Hong Chen in the picture is his most proud student over the years, and the disciple he is most proud of. He is the most outstanding disciple in the entire Wuji sect over the years. At this moment, he was dead, died in the mouths of countless black-striped blood spiders, being eaten alive. The leader's hair suddenly turned white. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His whole body was shaky, his eyes were red, and he stared at the black-striped blood spiders. Upon seeing this, the powerful beings in the void also fell silent. They didn't expect that the danger would come so quickly. Not long after they entered, one of the monsters in Xiantian realm had already died. In the picture, Li Qixin was still a step too late. He stopped Wu Jian's impulse to seek revenge. The halberd fell, cutting down the two black-striped blood spiders, and then took him away. Soon, the projection was empty. When the people on the street saw this scene, they fell silent and their previous joy disappeared. They had not imagined that the immortal treasure was so cruel. A living monster disappeared before their eyes. But even so, the people of the entire 5 continents stared at the projection with burning eyes. They wanted to remember these geniuses who fought for Xiantian domain and not let them sacrifice so easily. The next moment, the picture in the projection changed again, and the figures of Nangong Chen and Suli appeared in front of the world. Nangong Chen was dressed in white, holding a torch with a calm expression. In the dark night, his temperament was very extraordinary, like a young master from a noble family out for an outing. The same was true for Suli. She was beside Nangong Chen. The mark of the ice phoenix on her dark eyebrows was shining brightly. Paired with the glass fairy dress, she looked even more sacred and noble. When the two appeared, they looked like a pair of immortal lovers. In an instant, the heaven and earth seemed to be dimmed. No one expected that while on the other side, the monsters like Xian Tianyu were being hunted by the black-striped blood spider and were suffering so much. The two people here were so relaxed and indifferent, as if they were just out for fun. Such a contrast was hard for them to accept for a while. It seems that after the double pupils separated from them, it didn't feel sad at all, and even felt a little happy. Everyone looked at the picture and saw the elegant young man in white, laying with a faint smile on his face, and said in disbelief. When the young women in the crowd saw this smile, their legs trembled slightly and their pretty faces flushed. He smiled. It was the first time he smiled in front of them. This was so beautiful. Those women had rosy complexions, beautiful eyes that were as tender as water, and a hint of intoxication on their faces. Unfortunately, the two people in the picture were talking too quietly, and, coupled with the isolation of the void, they couldn't hear what each other was saying at all. When the other young geniuses saw this scene, their faces turned pale. I didn't expect that the goddess I had been pursuing so hard would be like this in private. At this moment, resentment welled up in their eyes as they looked at the man in white in the picture. I have an irreconcilable relationship with people with double pupils. Soon, everyone discovered that the two people seemed to be here for fun. They talked as they walked and didn't even encounter any danger along the way. Young Master and his friends are so lucky. Qin Yu said happily among the crowd. Qin Fan on the side also nodded. Yes, logically this mountain range should be full of monsters, but why haven't we seen a single beast on the way here? It's strange. Of course, many people present thought so. However, some supporters of the Sun God Palace sneered after hearing this. I think this person with double pupils is willing to be a coward, not daring to go where there are monsters. Yeah, it seems like being kicked off the team was a huge blow to him. He has absolutely no desire to enter the second round. TSK, 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 TSK. He won't last long if he's so depressed. I never thought that the person with double pupils would end up like this. The Ice Phoenix goddess is so shameless that she was dragged down by such a person. What a pity. These cold voices came one after another, and the supporters of the people with double pupils were very angry, but they could do nothing. In the void, Fen Dao saw this scene. His eyes were filled with joy, and a look of disdain appeared at the corner of his mouth. It seems this boy's heart is broken, and there is no chance of recovery. In half a year, he will be beheaded. Fen Dao paused, as if he had thought of something, and sneered, No, maybe whether you can come out alive or not is the same thing. He laughed wildly in his heart. Ha 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 ha. This person with double pupils is really stupid. He has to provoke the monsters from other domains and give his life to them. He doesn't even need to make a move. I've already won. Chapter 193, Nangong Chen, is questioned. In the air, other powerful people saw this scene and shook their heads. It seems that being kicked out of the team was a huge blow to this boy. Now, he can only sink to this point and dare not compete with other geniuses. Thinking of this, they showed a hint of regret. What a pity. This evildoer who suddenly appeared in the world has his heart broken, and there is no possibility for him to reach the top. Some powerful people showed joy on their faces. Wasn't this the scene they wanted to see? They were afraid that the double-pupiled person would improve too quickly and threaten their own strength. Now it seemed that there was no need for this at all. Even outside the Chu mansion, Chu Ruchuan sneered, his eyes revealing disdain. Is this the person with double pupils that the saint lady wants to befriend? Such a mentality and attitude are far too negative. Even the people watching can't understand it. I think there is no need to let the saint girl manage the Chu family. She is still too young and needs some training. Chu Ruchuan almost said directly to her face that Chu Yin had poor vision and it would be better for her not to compete with her for the position of head of the family. After hearing this, Chu Yin supporters were a little angry, but they didn't dare to say anything more. They could only look at the person with double pupils in the picture with disappointment. Boy, are you so ashamed of the lady's investment? You know, before, they were very confident that even if the person with double pupils was alone, he could make a comeback and dominate the world, and it was even possible for him to enter the second round. However, the current behavior of those with double pupils is so negative that they see no hope at all. All the previous extravagant dreams were shattered. At this moment, everyone in Chu City was silent. Some young geniuses were even shaken in their hearts. Do they really want to worship such a person? In the Tianyuan Divine Dynasty, the atmosphere here is different from that in other places. There is joy and applause everywhere. Well, the battle outside is so fierce and dangerous, but the crown prince of our divine dynasty has found an extremely safe place to protect the dragon body. How wise! Yes, the prince has been very tired since his rise to power, and he deserves a rest. This is understandable. Who knows? If this continues, once the crown princess comes out, His Majesty will have a grandson. These ministers laughed and looked at the two figures in the picture with great satisfaction, as if their own children had grown up and they doted on them very much. They have been very dissatisfied since Nangong Chen was kicked out by those people. Now they are very happy to see Nangong Chen fighting against them in this way. They were not like others who hoped that their genius would make a name for himself in the immortal treasure. Of course, they also wanted to do so, but that idea disappeared after they saw Nangong Chen being isolated by his compatriots. Who cares about the honor of Xiantian domain or not? If you treat us like this, then we are not human beings either. This is absolutely reasonable. Sitting on the dragon throne, Nangong Chen was also overjoyed, showing his white teeth. Very good, very good. My son knows exactly what we mean. That's how we should do it. Let them fight on their own. This time we can just treat it as a spring outing. After the first round is over, leave this damn place immediately and never go back again. However, the next moment, the scene changed, and they were also a little shocked when they saw it. I saw Nangong Chen and the other person, and no one knew where they were at this moment. Not far from them, there were two big monsters fighting. Near the two big monsters, there were also countless pairs of eyes watching the scene, each hidden in the shadows. Obviously, they have walked into the devil's den. Oh no, what should we do? The prince should quietly leave here while they are not paying attention, someone said with a worried look on his face. Back in Chu City, at this moment, everyone's pupils shrank slightly, staring blankly at the scene in the projection. Look over there. There are two powerful monsters fighting each other. Such power and pressure are definitely not ordinary monsters. Those two monsters fighting each other, with such strength, should be the overlord-level monsters here. The number of monsters around here is simply too numerous to even imagine. Everyone present murmured, their eyes filled with shock. At this moment, they finally understood why Nangong Chen and the other man had not encountered any monsters along the way. It turned out that a great battle was taking place not far away. I've been in the mountains for decades, and I've only seen such strong aura fluctuations from Half-Step Demon King. These two monsters were so fast that I couldn't see anything. But I'm sure that the strength of these two monsters is definitely higher than that of a Half-Step Demon King. Among the crowd, there was an old man carrying a bamboo basket on his back, his eyes focused as he spoke. The aura on his body is very strong, which shows that this old man is also a strong man. With the affirmation of such a powerful person, the conviction in everyone's eyes deepened. After they came to their senses, they were also filled with shock, looking at the scene in the void with some disbelief. Becoming a demon king means stepping into the realm of quasi-saint, and becoming a half-step demon king means reaching the peak of God King. These two demon beasts are actually such terrifying existences, with such a powerful fighting force. Who among the monsters that enter can kill such a creature? Oh my God, is this the immortal treasure? Some people were shocked, and even felt grateful to the Chu family for the projection, which allowed them to see this terrifying existence. This will definitely leave an indelible mark in the hearts of many people. Strange, it didn't retreat. Could it be that they wanted to? Someone saw Nangong Chen and Su Li standing there after they arrived, with no intention of retreating, so they made a bold guess. As soon as these words were spoken, many people realized what was happening. Yes, logically speaking, those with double pupils would have their hearts broken, so shouldn't they have escaped long ago? Why didn't he retreat? Was he really after the two fierce beasts? Some of them gasped, their eyes fixed on the picture. In the picture, Nangong Chen and Su Li not only did not retreat, but instead took a few more steps forward, putting themselves in an excellent position to watch the battle. The other ferocious beasts around him just glanced at Nangong Chen and didn't look at him again. Nangong Chen's steps allowed everyone to see more clearly how powerful the two creatures fighting in the giant pit were. Chapter 194, Silence. This is actually the legendary six-armed demon ape and the bloodthirsty sparrow, which ranks high among the demons. In the void, a powerful being saw this scene and could hardly believe it, and cried out in disbelief. As soon as these words were spoken, the elders all changed color and looked intently at the projection. The six-handed demon ape is a pure-blooded creature, a legendary fighting clan. It is said that in the past, a quasi-saint six-handed demon ape appeared in the Silver Moon Mountains, but it took 2 saints to suppress it. The previous 5 quasi-saints were all swallowed by the six-handed demon ape, 1 against 5, and even with a huge advantage. One can imagine how perverted the six-handed demon ape clan is. As for the bloodthirsty bird, it is even more incredible. I heard that its ancestor is the offspring of the bloodthirsty eagle and the divine bird. It is also at the forefront among the monsters, and its combat power is very strong. Those powerful men shook their heads and looked at the man with double pupils, and Su Li with some regret. It should be that the 2 people with double pupils don't know how terrifying the 2 ferocious beasts are and are still thinking of taking advantage of the situation. I'm afraid if they knew how terrifying these 2 creatures are, they would no longer have this idea. Below, everyone also heard the exclamations of those powerful beings, and now they understood how extremely powerful the 2 creatures that were fighting were. Why don't those with double pupils retreat? Someone expressed their doubts. In the picture, even when Nangong Chen and Su Li saw the 2 terrifying beasts, they had no intention of retreating, which made them very puzzled. Could it be? He's really still planning on these 2 ferocious beasts? That's too bold. Oh my god! A cultivator exclaimed, with some disbelief in his eyes. After hearing this, everyone was also a little stunned. The double pupil man and the ice phoenix goddess were so fearless. You know, that was a half-demon king. There has never been a single demon in the Xiantian realm who can fight against the half-demon king. Thinking of this, everyone's eyes couldn't help but become hot, staring at the scene intently, not wanting to miss any scene. I was wondering why the person with double pupils didn't take action. It turns out he was waiting for a big move. But some people also sneered and spoke in a sarcastic tone. I think you've all gone crazy. This is a half-demon king-level beast. Even if both of them are injured, the 2 people with double pupils still don't stand a chance. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that someone with double pupils would actually go and die. This is beyond my expectation. If they can kill these 2 monsters today, I will eat shit on the spot. After hearing these words, the supporters of the person with double pupils did not say anything and looked at the 2 people in the picture. They believed that if he dared to do this, he must have the confidence to do so, and he would definitely not run away to die, as these people said. Soon, with the shocking attack of the 6-handed demon ape and the bloodthirsty bird, the entire projection was affected and trembled. In that scene, all the ancient trees within a radius of dozens of miles fell down, and the ground was shaking. At this moment, when everyone saw this scene, they realized how terrifying the power of this half-demon king was. After a few breaths, the smoke and dust dissipated, and the scene in the huge pit appeared before the world. Hiss! The 6-armed demonic ape and the bloodthirsty sparrow are both seriously injured. Someone exclaimed. In the picture, the 6-handed demon ape had 3 hands broken off and was covered in blood, which was a shocking sight. On the other side, the bloodthirsty bird also had 1 wing broken off and was seriously injured. Seeing this, one cultivator couldn't help but think subconsciously. This is simply the perfect time to take action. What are those people with double pupils waiting for? Why don't they take action? After the words were spoken, everyone echoed them, looking at Nangong Chen and the other 2 who were still standing there with some confusion. In the void, even those powerful men with rich combat experience felt that this was a very good time to take action, because such serious injuries could not be faked. Why haven't they made a move yet? What are they waiting for? Some elders who had previously spoken for those with double pupils said this with some disappointment. The other powerful people also shook their heads. They had no idea what this person with double pupils was thinking. You don't even want to free points? However, the next moment, the ferocious beasts that had been waiting nearby for a long time swarmed over, their eyes flashing scarlet. Obviously, the damage suffered by the 2 half-demon kings had severely stimulated them. The number of these ferocious beasts is really too large. There are more than thousands of them, forming a black mass, and there are all kinds of ferocious beasts. But the only common feature among them is probably their red eyes. At this moment, some people have discovered something wrong. They don't understand why the eyes of the ferocious beasts here are so blood-red. Even the other monsters in the Xiantian realm are not to this extent. After seeing this scene, everyone's confusion turned into enlightenment. They began to understand Nangong Chen a little bit. It turned out that he was afraid of these ferocious beasts, but that doesn't make sense. Since he is planning to kill the 2 half-demon kings and is afraid of these ferocious beasts, the purpose of this person with double pupils is somewhat contradictory, right? Or are they wrong? In the void, those powerful people also frowned, feeling very puzzled, and stared intently at the 2 people in the picture. Strange, why haven't you taken action to kill these 2 half-demon kings? Are you afraid? I think this boy's heart is broken. He doesn't even have the courage to take action. What a coward. If I were you, I would at least kill a half-demon king in front of the world as a demonstration. However, the next moment, the two dying half-demon kings instantly recovered a lot of their energy and directly suppressed all the ferocious beasts that came forward. At this moment, everyone suddenly realized what was going on, and a look of shame appeared on their faces. It turns out we misunderstood him. The one with double pupils had long seen that the half-demon king had bad intentions and was trying to lure them into action. A monk said this with great shame, his eyes full of apology. Look, they finally took action. Soon, a cry of surprise was heard. In the picture, Nangong Chen stood in the void, with 1,000-foot-high divine thunder flashing behind him, his eyes looking down on others, and his aura overwhelming, as if a thunder god had descended. It's this thunder technique again. Oh my god, it can be so powerful. I've never seen it before. What kind of martial art is this? Even some knowledgeable and experienced people were speechless at this moment. The people below were already shocked, their eyes full of the figure in white. The next moment, thousands of divine thunders fell from the sky and smashed into the group of monsters, instantly reducing them to ashes, and screams rang out one after another. On the other side, Suli also condensed the divine phoenix and killed many ferocious beasts. After a few breaths, all the monsters on the scene were cleared out. Everyone stared at the scene in a daze, unable to believe what had happened in just a few seconds. The man with double pupils and the ice phoenix goddess were both seen flying towards the two half-demon kings. At this moment, the eyes of the six-handed demon ape and the bloodthirsty bird were also filled with fear, and their bodies were trembling, as if they had seen the god of death. Boom! The monstrous divine thunder directly sent the dying six-handed demon ape away. On the other side, countless ice cones also fell, extinguishing the last breath of the bloodthirsty bird. At this moment, the whole audience was silent. Chapter 195 rankings announced, everyone shocked. No one expected that in just a few breaths, the man with double pupils and the ice phoenix goddess had cleared out all the monsters in the area, leaving not a single one. On the street, everyone was stunned, their eyes filled with shock. Just like that. Are you done? That's the half-demon king. These two are monsters. After a long while, everyone finally reacted and murmured incoherently. Those who had previously questioned the person with double pupils now had red faces and looked a little ashamed. So, the reason why those with double pupils didn't take action is because they had been planning to kill all the monsters all along. We have misunderstood the person with double pupils. As expected, the thoughts of this kind of monster are beyond the comprehension of ordinary people like us. At this point, these people were sincerely convinced and completely convinced by the person with double pupils. Seeing this, the supporters of those with double pupils were also very motivated and cheered loudly. People with double pupils are awesome. People with double pupils are awesome. The one who wanted to eat shit earlier, I remember you. Yes, you read that right, it's you. Oh my, you still want to leave? Someone, hold him down and wait for him in the toilet. Who said before that the double pupil person's Tao heart was broken? That slap in the face was really loud. I'm afraid that the double pupil person doesn't need the help of others in Xiantian realm and can also enter the second round. I'm afraid someone won't be able to sleep tonight. Haha. In the void, those powerful beings were somewhat silent. After a while, someone finally spoke up and said, "We were really mistaken. This isn't about a broken heart. It's clearly not taking it seriously. This kid is so terrifying." If he hadn't left the team, Li Qixin and the others would have had divine help with him. Who knows, they might have been able to deal with those black-striped blood spiders, and Hong Chun wouldn't have died. A powerful man whispered and glanced at Master Wuji. After hearing this, everyone nodded. If they had known that the person with double pupils was so powerful, Yi Guqin would not have suggested kicking him out. "Fendao, get out here." The next moment, a voice of extreme anger resounded between heaven and earth. Everyone looked confused and then looked into the void. An old man appeared in the sky. He was wearing a golden robe. At this moment, his white eyebrows were cold, the hair on his body stood up, and his eyes were fixed on a piece of space. This person is none other than the leader of the Wuji sect, Qian Wuji. Fun Dao, who was hidden in the clouds, was shocked when he heard Dao's voice. His body shook, and then he sent out a divine thought with a gloomy face. "Qian Wuji, what do you want to do with me? Isn't it me who killed your disciple?" Fun Dao said with a dark face as he thought of a divine thought. He also didn't expect that he would be wrong. The man with double pupils not only had an unbroken heart of Taoism, but the strength he displayed was like a monster. If it weren't for the grudge between you and that person with double pupils, you, Yi Guqin, wouldn't have expelled him from the team, and Hong Chun wouldn't have died. Qian Wuji gritted his teeth, his face filled with incomparable anger. Fun Dao was speechless. He had never thought that this would bring disaster upon himself. Then, with a cold look in his eyes, he said with disdain, "If you die, then so what? With the strength of your Wuji sect leader, do you think you can compete with my Sun Palace? Besides, if your disciple wasn't such a loser, how could he be the slowest runner? Look at the others. Aren't they also alive and well? These words were extremely cold and biting, and they were a real break between them. The next moment, a palm light emerged and shot up into the sky. Fun Dao's divine thought was directly wiped out by it. Qian Wuji looked at him coldly and said, "Just wait. If you show up in the future, I will hunt you down endlessly." When everyone saw this scene, they sighed. They didn't expect that because of the things happening in the Immortal Treasure, conflicts had already started in the outside world. On the other side, Fun Dao, who was in the clouds, had an increasingly gloomy expression, as if he had just been bitten by a dog, and was still confused. He looked at Nangong Chen in the picture, his eyes filled with murderous intent. In the Tianyuan Divine Dynasty, seeing this scene, the people of the Divine Dynasty were all excited. They had previously seen Nangong Chen being isolated and kicked out of the team by those people, and they felt very aggrieved. Now, seeing Nangong Chen being so powerful, they finally felt relieved. The prince is awesome. The prince is mighty. The crown princess is also awesome, a heroine. The eyes of those people were very passionate, and they were full of admiration. In the palace, all the civil and military officials were so shocked that they were speechless. It took a long time before some people spoke. The crown prince and the crown princess are so fierce. Because there is no other word, I can only use violent to describe these two people. It is conceivable how earth-shattering the performance of Nangong Chen and Su Li is. The others also swallowed and nodded in agreement. Nangong Chen had expected this, but even so, a hint of shock flashed across his eyes. This kid is so strong. Inside the Immortal Treasure House, after Xian Tianyu and others escaped the pursuit of the black-striped blood spider, they finally found a place to settle down. The long journey of escape made them very tired, and they were all exhausted. As soon as they sat down, they hurried to recover themselves. When everyone saw that Li Qixin was only leaving Wu Jian, they all thought of something and fell silent. They didn't expect that the sacrifice would come so quickly and so close to them. Li Qixin looked gloomy. He looked around at everyone and found that they were all fine. Then he said, "The Immortal Treasure is full of dangers. Please don't treat it as a joke. After we get through this month, we can return alive." These words are both a reminder and a warning. At this moment, even Xiongde, who is usually very active, was not in the mood to play. He lowered his head and looked at his bracelet. Suddenly, he seemed to have seen something wrong. He rubbed his eyes and exclaimed, "Fuck!" This exclamation naturally made everyone look intently, wondering what had happened. Seeing everyone looking at him, Xiongde quickly said, "Go look at the rankings and you'll know." After hearing this, Li Qixin and others hurriedly checked the projection on the bracelet. When they saw the ranking, they were shocked, as if they had seen something incredible. The first and second place on the leaderboard are actually the Double Pupils person and the Ice Phoenix Goddess. Lu Dazhu was a little speechless, staring at the boss, a little bit unable to believe the ranking on this projection. Chapter 196, First and Second Separate Actions. Ranked first, Nangong Chen, Xintian Domain, 5,642 points. Second place, Su Li, Xintian Realm, 4,270 points. Ranked third, Xian Xiangling, Burial Heaven Realm, 3,950 points. Looking further ahead, they were all familiar faces, such as Xian Jie, the last year's number one, the little princess Hu Yao Yao from the Demon Realm, the demon Wan Tiansheng from the Wild Realm, and the Buddha from the Buddha Realm. In short, there are no ordinary people among the top 10. Those who make the list are all world-renowned monsters from various fields. And Nangong Chen was able to crush the monsters from all domains at a stroke, which left them puzzled. For a moment, everyone's expressions were somewhat complicated. Looking at this screen, the highest among them was only Li Qixin, who had just killed 2 black-striped blood spiders and barely scored 6 points, ranking outside the top 100. As for the others, they didn't even score a single point and were at the bottom of the rankings. They had used that little time just now to escape. Did the two of them disturb the monster's lair? After a long while, someone murmured, their eyes full of disbelief. The others were also silent. If you disturb the monster's nest, you need to have the corresponding strength to destroy it. Like them just now, didn't they also disturb the monster's nest, but they escaped in a panic. Moreover, these two people have a total of 9,000 points. The number of aliens they killed is so shocking just by guessing. That's thousands of aliens, and they just died like that. I'm afraid that even after a month, they still won't be able to achieve this level. The most important thing is that there are only 2 of them. Unlike other domains, there are other tribesmen to help them. Li Qixin was delighted at first, happy for Nangong Chen and the others from the bottom of his heart. But then a hint of worry appeared in his eyes, Brother Nangong is so dazzling. I'm afraid there are many people in other domains who are eyeing them. Li Muxiu, who was standing aside, remained silent. After seeing the ranking, he felt somewhat expected and somewhat unexpected. He thought Nangong Chen would make a big splash after leaving them, but he didn't expect him to rush to the top so quickly and with such a huge lead in points. It seems that what Nangong Chen said before about not caring was true. Li Muxiu's expression was very complicated. It seemed that the other party regarded them as a burden. He looked at the silent Jiang Yingwei, then looked at the extremely low-key Chu Yan. His mouth twitched slightly, as if he had thought of something. It's no wonder they're considered a burden. They're the demons of the Xiantian territory, each with their own ulterior motives, unlike his foolish elder brother. He sighed and looked at Li Qishan beside him with some sadness. The other side, Chao Li was very excited, and the admiration in his eyes deepened. He knew that Nangong Chen was not as simple as he seemed, and he was soaring into the sky now. Xiongda and Lu Dao's eyes were rolling around cunningly, occasionally flashing with light, and they seemed to be planning something in their minds. Is this overlord reliable? We haven't scored a single point in half an hour. I also feel that following this overlord always feels a bit unreliable. If we don't find someone to lean on, we'll just be defeated given our strength. What do you mean by giving it away? That's for you, okay? After all, I'm also a genuine demon on the heavenly ranking. Unlike you, we didn't spend money to get there. Isn't it all the same? Now that you're here, why are you still concerned about this? No matter how powerful you are, can you defeat those geniuses from other domains? I can't beat him. That's right. We might as well find a big boss to lean on. Now I think Brother Nangong is pretty good. He has already shown his invincibility. But my father said that he had provoked a venerable being from the upper realm. If you have anything to do with him, you will be held accountable in the future. Why are you worried about this? No one else will know that we've entered the immortal treasure. At worst, I can spend some money and have them pretend not to see anything. Besides, haven't you always admired those with double pupils? You have a notebook in your hand. Okay, stop talking. I'll listen to you. The two had a brief exchange and decided on the next plan. That is to join the people with double pupils, but they have to find a reason. At this moment, other people also had different thoughts, and most of them were shocked by the two people with double pupils. Yi Guqing sat in a corner with a gloomy look in his eyes, shadows cast on his face, and no one knew what he was thinking. It was originally thought that after the person with double pupils was isolated and left, he would be unable to recover and might even be killed by these ferocious beasts. But he didn't expect that the person with double pupils could actually get the first place in points even though he was alone. This made him want to vomit blood and felt like he was severely slapped in the face. Thinking of this, Yi Guqing couldn't help but feel a little scared. He was afraid that if Nangong Chen met him, he would kill him directly. Wenxuan's eyes also flickered, and no one knew what he was thinking. After a long time, a cold look appeared at the corner of his mouth. I was really surprised that the guy got first place in points. However, the more powerful the genius is, the more excited he will be when he kills. Wan Xin, when do we start? At this moment, Wen Zhe on the side looked at him. No rush. The time has not come yet. The runes that the Lord gave us are still slowly unlocking. Once the rules of this world have completely dissipated, we can take action. With our quasi-saint cultivation, we will be invincible here. By then, these geniuses from the 10 regions will be ours. Wen Shun thought to himself, with an evil look in his eyes. Suddenly, a female voice sounded. Overlord, how about this? Let's split up and search for the anomaly. Otherwise, at our current speed, our efficiency will probably be much slower than that of other domains. Chu Yin spoke, her pretty face showing a complicated expression. I agree. Jiang Yingwei, who had been silent all this time, echoed at this moment, her voice cold and pleasant. Seeing this, Li Qishan had no choice but to agree. Oh well. After a brief communication, everyone in Xintian territory was divided into 3 teams. Chu Yin brought Xiongda, Lu Dezhu, Chao Li, Ximeng, Wang Teng, and others. Li Qishan led Lu Wuxin, Jiang Che, Li Muxiu, and some talented young people, such as Wu Jian and others. As for the last team, Jiang Yingwei brought Yi Guqing, Wen Zhe, Wen Shun, and others. In this way, the group split into 3 groups and left after a short rest. Outside, everyone saw this scene and expressed their agreement. After all, if they dispersed, they would be able to find more ferocious beasts. If they stayed together all the time, the other ferocious beasts. Chapter 197, Rebellion Against the Master. Sir, this is bad. Someone has surpassed our ranking. On the other side, in a cave, someone exclaimed. Xianjie casually killed a mid-stage divine king strange, with a mortal light surging and an expression very indifferent, like a god. After hearing this, his eyebrows raised, his expression changed slightly, and a hint of curiosity appeared in his eyes. Who is it? Can they surpass our ranking? Is it the demon tribe? For him, the only threat that could pose to their race of gods while crossing the sea was probably the demon realm. He had also explored the demon realm carefully, and it seemed that no one could pose a threat to their god clan. Who could it be? For some reason, he suddenly thought of the arrogant human, and then shook his head, as if sneering. As for the human race he saw while crossing the sea, if I'm not mistaken, they're the so-called Tianyuan realm. Those human beings are so weak, and only a few of them can barely catch his eye. It is absolutely impossible for them to surpass his ranking. It's ridiculous that I actually thought of them. Then, Xuanjia looked at the screen with a look of shock and said in a lost voice, "What? They're actually 2 humans from the Tianyuan realm? Nangong Chen and Suli, who are they? Could it be that among those weak humans, there are still masters? Are they just hiding deep inside? Or is this just an accident, and they have missed it?" As for the arrogant human race from before, he had never thought about it. To him, the arrogant human race was just a genius with some eccentricities and was far from being worthy of his attention. On the other side, Zuan also stopped and looked at the screen in her hand. Curiosity appeared in her delicate features. Who are these 2 humans? The other members of the god clan shook their heads, saying they didn't know. How could they possibly know the names of people from other domains? Seeing that she was interested, Xuanjia also spoke confidently. "That's fine. Let them pass for a while. We're all going all out to hunt these monsters today, so it's normal for us to fall behind. Besides, no one knows what methods the other party uses to kill the enemy. The magic weapons of the human race are very famous, so there's no need to be surprised if they possess these methods. When we exert our strength, we will definitely be number 1 in this month, no matter which session it is. No one can shake our position as the god clan." After hearing this, the morale of the other gods also soared. That's right, a mere human kid wants to compete with the gods for first place. He's simply dreaming. You know, they, the god clan, have been at the top of the list for dozens of times. It was like this before, and it will be like this in the future as well. This kind of situation has happened before, and for them, they just need to treat it with a normal mind. "Sir, there's still no news about that human boy." At this time, a man appeared, knelt in front of Xuanjia, and said respectfully. After hearing this, Xuanjia's eyes flickered, as if he had expected it. He muttered to himself, "Choosing to hide? That's indeed a good idea, but do you really think you can hide forever? No matter who comes, it will be useless for me, Xuanjia, to kill someone." As soon as he finished speaking, an overwhelming divine power burst out from Xuanjia's body, and his aura was invincible, as if a generation of divine king had descended. "No problem. Keep sending people to look for him. If he doesn't show up, I'll find a way to make him appear." "Yes." After hearing this, the god also spoke respectfully and then disappeared on the spot. Not far away, the godlike girl looked at this place quietly without saying a word. There is a unique charm in her beautiful eyes, noble and mysterious, and somewhat indifferent to the world. This complex temperament further highlights her unique divinity. Seeing Xiannu's look, Xianjia explained to himself, "Such a despicable race dares to insult the gods. They deserve to die. They are destined to go to hell in this life. The gods cannot be insulted." There was something hidden in his words, as if he was reminding someone of something. After hearing this, Zuan pursed her lips, glanced at him, and turned away. "Wow, the first place is not from the Protoss. How strange." Hu Yaoyao looked at the screen in her hand and said playfully, her beautiful eyes very smart, "What race is this Xiantian territory?" When the white-haired young man heard this, he pierced the demon bear in front of him with one hand and crushed its heart. He remained expressionless throughout the whole process, even though blood was splattered on his face. Then Bai Long turned around and responded respectfully, "Princess, the Xiantian territory is the human race that crossed the sea." After hearing this, Hu Yaoyao suddenly understood and smiled. "Interesting. They're actually a race of stupid humans. I never thought that there would be such a strong one among them." After hearing this, Bai Long hesitated for a moment before finally saying, "Princess, he may not be a strong one. After all, this is only the first day of the immortal hidden realm. Some accidents are normal. After a month, our demon race and the god race will still be at the top. There will be absolutely no accidents." After hearing this, the other demons also nodded. Hu Yaoyao glanced at them, her expression unkind, her narrow, beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. "This princess is using you to remind you that you are too arrogant. Just like those guys from the god clan, you can't tolerate anyone who can threaten us, especially you, Bai Long." After hearing this, Bai Long felt a little bitter, but he still responded with a stiff upper lip. "All of this is for the princess's benefit. I don't care about you. Oh, by the way, if you have any news about that idiot human, remember to tell me. This princess wants to protect him, and it's not just talk." Hu Yaoyao snorted coldly, and then continued. Yes. Bai Long lowered his head and said respectfully, but a murderous look flashed in his eyes. Who says the news I'm telling you can't be bad news? Soon, a night passed, the red moon retreated, and a ray of light shone in the sky. In a cave, Nangong Chen looked at the morning light that he had not seen for a long time, his eyes flashing, and he slowly stood up and walked out. Not far from the cave entrance, a sword flower bloomed, and a snow-white figure was dancing with a sword. Every move was as stunning as a fairy, and carried a sharp sword intent. After seeing this, Nangong Chen couldn't help but show some admiration in his eyes and sighed in his heart. Having talent is not scary, but having talent and working harder than you is really scary. She is worthy of being the heroine of destiny. The level of her hard work is beyond the reach of ordinary people. Su Li saw Nangong Chen coming out of the corner of his eye, and also brought down the last sword. Frost flew past. The sword light was dazzling, and with a loud bang, an ancient boulder not far away shattered directly. However, this was only because Su Li did not use his cultivation, but relied entirely on the effect of sword intent. It can be imagined how profound his understanding of swordsmanship is. Nangong Chen was stunned when he saw this scene. He remembered that he had a human emperor sword in the system space. If he had such swordsmanship, the effect he would have achieved that day would probably be completely different. Seeing that he was shocked by his sword intent, Su Li couldn't help but raise the corner of his mouth and felt secretly happy in his heart. Do you want to learn my sword technique? Su Li said softly, stroking the jade sword in her hand, her white hair scattered, beautiful like an immortal. She knew that Nangong Chen didn't seem to know swordsmanship, but he had a very powerful sword, so powerful that even Qi Yao thought it was amazing. That's why she asked Nangong Chen if he wanted to learn. If he wanted to learn, she would naturally teach him everything she knew without reservation. Nangong Chen nodded, pretending to be serious and bowing, saying, Master Su Li, please accept my disciple's greetings. After saying this, he pretended to kneel down. When Su Li heard this title, her ears turned red. She quickly came to Nangong Chen, stopped him, and said shyly, Who is your master? If she is Nangong Chen's master, then wouldn't he be a traitor to his master? Chapter 198 Sword Practice. Thinking of the 4 words disloyal disciple, Su Li's beautiful face suddenly turned red. She turned her head away, not daring to look directly at Nangong Chen. Since you want to learn, I will teach you for a while after we get out. Su Li pretended to be aloof and said with her arms folded across her chest, her tone cold and icy. After hearing this, Nangong Chen thought about it. After I get out, will it be too late? Now that I have nothing to do in Xinzong, I might as well learn something in Xinzong. If any accidents occur, he can also take out the Human Emperor Sword as his trump card. The Human Emperor Sword should be considered his biggest trump card, a divine weapon. Even now, he can only swing the sword once, and he will be exhausted after swinging that sword. As for the power of that sword, judging from the last time, it should be considered a full-strength attack from a quasi-saint. Don't underestimate the full-strength attack of this quasi-saint. If a saint is not careful, he may be injured. Of course, this trump card is enough for him to roam freely in the immortal hiding place. After all, which genius in the powerful realm can deliver a quasi-saint attack? Moreover, if he learns swordsmanship, his strength will be further enhanced. The power should not be underestimated. Thinking of this, Nangong Chen decided to start practicing sword in the immortal storage. Don't want. Nangong Chen shook his head and said to Su Li, What do you mean you don't want it? Do you despise me? I'm a consummate swordsman. Seeing Nangong Chen's refusal, Su Li's face immediately changed. He gritted his teeth and looked at Nangong Chen viciously. If the other party didn't give a good explanation, he would be finished. Seeing her expression like this, Nangong Chen guessed that she must have misunderstood something and explained softly, No, what I meant is that I want to start learning swordsmanship from Xinzong. There's no need to wait until I get out. After hearing Nangong Chen's words, Su Li was a little stunned. She looked at him and frowned. What did you say? You want to learn swordsmanship here? Are you crazy? How can we enter the second round without killing those aliens? Do you believe me? Suddenly, Nangong Chen looked in her eyes and said seriously. Su Li was stunned. She didn't expect Nangong Chen to do this suddenly. Her heart was pounding for a moment. What do you mean by believe it or not? Of course I believe you. Su Li turned her head and spoke hesitantly. If you believe me, you can treat this trip to the immortal treasure as a spring outing. After a month, you will understand everything. Nangong Chen continued, his tone full of meaning. The reason why he has been walking around this mountain range these days is to set up the formation. When the 9 sky star array covers the entire mountain range, he will give all the strange people a huge surprise. By then, that score would have reached an unprecedented height. It would be more than enough for him and Su Li to dominate the rankings, first or second. You know, his ambition has always been great, and this time is no exception. When others were still frowning and worried about killing the aliens, he had already set his sights on the aliens in the entire Xinzong. If others knew what Nangong Chen was thinking at this moment, they would be so shocked that they would be speechless. Okay, I'll believe you this time. Su Li looked at his face and couldn't help but say something as if she was possessed by a ghost. She didn't know why she agreed to Nangong Chen's absurd idea, but deep in her heart, there was an unknown belief urging her to trust him. Hearing Su Li's answer, Nangong Chen smiled, as if he had expected it. He knew that the other party would definitely trust him. After all, this was the woman he had married. After seeing this, Su Li felt helpless. She always felt like she was on a pirate ship, but she couldn't say anything. After all, she had already agreed to it. She sighed and thought, forget it, if there really is no other way. The worst that can happen is to snatch other people's points on the last day. No one can beat them anyway, so there are always more ways than suffering. Su Li comforted herself and calmed down. She took out the jade sword hanging from her waist, looked at Nangong Chen, and said seriously, since you want to learn sword, then there is no time to waste, let's start now. After hearing this, Nangong Chen's eyes lit up with a smile, but he still pretended to be serious and responded, yes. Master Su Li. After hearing this, Su Li blushed a little and wanted to hit him on the butt with the sword, but she thought it was not a good idea and gave up. She said helplessly, if you do this again, I won't teach you. Seeing that she was about to get angry, Nangong Chen stopped teasing her and focused on the game. The sword is the most powerful weapon. In short, the effect of each move and each sword is different depending on the skill of the swordsman. First of all, you should be clear about the 6 levels of sword intent. Of course, it's not just sword intent. Other weapons or elixir formations are also divided into entry, minor success, major success, perfection, and entry into the Tao. For example, if a sword cultivator with perfect sword intent were to fight against a sword cultivator with minor sword intent, if the two were of equal cultivation, the one with perfect sword intent would definitely win, without a doubt. The difference between the two in their understanding of the sword is simply worlds apart. Entry is easy to understand. It's just getting started with the sword. Minor success, great success, and perfection are the extent of your understanding of the sword. As for perfection, no one has reached that level in thousands of years. Even the current leader of the sword saint, has only achieved perfection of sword intent. As for entering the Tao, there's no need to think about it. For those who have reached this realm, every sword move and every style has achieved the state of unity between man and nature. Every strike of the sword is a natural perfection. This is the highest realm of sword intent, and it is the heart's aspiration of countless sword practitioners. This realm has never been reached by anyone. Su Li held the jade sword and spoke slowly. After hearing this, Nangong Chen's face showed enlightenment. So that's what it is. So, does that mean that my entry-level formation is already among the top ones? It is worthy of being a system product. The bag is of high quality. Then, Su Li seemed to have thought of something and said, by the way, I haven't asked you about your formation yet. What level is it? Nangong Chen smiled sheepishly and said calmly, it seems like entering Taoism. After hearing this, Su Li's pupils shrank slightly, and her face was filled with disbelief. How is this possible? It's okay. Maybe I remembered it wrong. It's just a small matter. Please continue. Nangong Chen didn't want to waste time on this matter, so he shook his head and spoke. Su Li nodded, thinking that Nangong Chen might not understand this level, so she casually said that she had just entered the Tao. Of course, many newcomers were like this at the beginning, and she had seen it before. Chapter 199, Chaos Exposed, 2-in-1, for 1,000 words. As for how you should practice swordsmanship, it depends on whether you have a talent for swordsmanship. So, take out a sword and swing it for me to see. Su Li spoke. Nangong Chen nodded and casually took out a purple sword with dragon patterns carved on it. It was extremely sharp and shone with a cold light. As soon as it was taken out, Su Li's sword became uneasy and wanted to break free from Su Li's restraints. When Su Li saw the sword, a look of shock appeared on her beautiful face. This is actually the saint soldier, Zi Xiao. This sword is extremely famous in the Xintian domain and ranks among the top 3 on the list of famous swords. Nangong Chen didn't expect that he would take out a saint's weapon while browsing. It must be said that he was really lucky. This sword is called Zi Xiao. It ranks 2nd on the famous sword list. It has been lost for a long time. I didn't expect it to be in your hands. Su Li's beautiful eyes sparkled, and her tone was filled with disbelief. Oh, I see. Nangong Chen was a little surprised. He didn't expect that the purple sword he used to cut watermelons when he was a child would become so famous. But if he said it out loud, Su Li might get a little upset, so he let it go. Thinking of this, he picked up Zi Xiao and waved it in front of his eyes based on his memory from his previous life. In an instant, a sword light flashed, and a huge rock not far away shattered in response to the light. After Su Li saw this, her ice-blue eyes narrowed a little. She took a breath and asked, "Have you practiced this before?" Nangong Chen shook his head, as if thinking of something. "No, this is my first time practicing sword. When I was 5 years old, I used this sword to fish." "Does that count?" Using Zixiao to fish, Su Li didn't expect that the sword in his eyes was just a tool for the other party to fish. Why does it sound a bit humiliating for some reason? However, Su Li didn't care too much and continued. "The sword you just swung has reached the entry level. If you really haven't practiced before, it proves that you have an excellent talent in swordsmanship." Even she had spent a long time learning before she could get started. At that time, her sword teacher praised her as a sword genius that appeared once in 1,000 years. Now, she finally realized what it meant that there are always people better than you. If she is considered a peerless genius, then what is Nangong Chen, the leader in swordsmanship? "Alas, it took me half a day to get started. It's really slow." Of course, if Su Li's thoughts were known to others, those sword cultivators would probably go find a rock to hit themselves to death. For ordinary people, it takes 2 or 3 years to get started with sword skills, but now, one of them got started just by swinging the sword, and the other got started after practicing for half a day. That's not all. They also complain that their practice is slow. Then what are they? Are they practicing the turtle sword? Hearing Su Li's praise, Nangong Chen couldn't help but feel a little surprised, but then he accepted it with a clear conscience. "You have a really good eye for people." After hearing this, Su Li couldn't help but frown. She couldn't help but frown. She shouldn't have praised him earlier. How shameless. Soon, Su Li continued her teaching, and Nangong Chen also studied seriously. It must be said that the explanation of a peerless genius is definitely better than that of some self-satisfied masters. After all, it also reflects the other party's understanding. What's more, Su Li did not hide anything and taught Nangong Chen everything he knew. If other sword cultivators heard this, they would probably stay here and not leave. At the same time, in a forest, the team led by Jiang Yingwei was now wandering through the mountains and fields, moving farther and farther away from the location originally marked by Li Qixin, as if they were about to enter the deep mountains of the wilderness. Someone in the team saw this scene and looked a little hesitant, as if he wanted to say something, but when he saw the cold and beautiful figure in front of him, he swallowed his words. Lu Yang glanced at Wang Yud and whispered, "Where did you say the moon goddess wanted to take us? Why haven't we arrived after walking for a whole day and a whole night?" Lu Yang, Wang Yud and others are among the top 10 geniuses on the heavenly ranking. Although they are a little dim compared to those monsters at the top of the heavenly ranking, they are also well known in the Xiantian domain. Wang Yud shook his head and said, "I don't know either. After all, this is the moon goddess. Who can know what she is thinking?" Yi Guqing, who was standing behind the moon goddess, also looked somewhat dissatisfied. They had been walking for a whole day and night. Where did this woman want to take them? "Hey, where are you taking us?" Yi Guqing couldn't help it and spoke with an impatient tone. Wen Shun and Wen Zhe and the team looked at each other and saw the joy in each other's eyes. The rules and restrictions within the world are about to disappear. This also means that it will soon be their turn to take action. At this moment, no one could notice that the aura of these two people was constantly surging from the middle stage of great power to the peak of great power to the early stage of God King, to the late stage of God King, to the peak of God King, to the early stage of quasi-saint. At the same time, a faint black mist emanated from them. Jiang Yingwei, who was in the lead, sensed this scene. Her eyes flickered on her cold and beautiful face, and an inexplicable smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. "Can't you hold back any longer? I want to see what kind of waves you two can stir up in the immortal treasure. Wherever I take you to is naturally where you will be buried," Jiang Yingwei said in a cold voice, and then waved her hand casually. An ray of moonlight rushed out, covering up the secret. "You're going to kill us?" After hearing this, Yi Guqing instantly retreated more than 10 meters and said with a vigilant look on his face. The others were also shocked and extremely shocked. "It's not me, it's them." Jiang Yingwei had a calm expression and delicate and beautiful features. She shook her head and stretched out her hand, pointing at 2 people in the crowd. Those 2 people were Wen Shun and Wen Zhe. Interesting. How did you find us?" An old man walked out of Wen Shun's body. He had 2 antelope horns on his head and exuded a terrifying, evil aura. The skin that had been there before, after falling, also dissipated like smoke and ash. At this moment, he is one of the 4 leaders of the blood god cult, Wanxin. Beside him, Wen Zhe's face was filled with shock, as if he was a little surprised. "Who are you? Why did you turn Wen Zhe into this state? Could it be that you killed him?" After he finished speaking, Wen Zhe turned pale and knelt on the ground powerlessly. Then he became a little indignant. He picked up the fan in his hand and chanted a spell softly. A murderous intent rushed out of the fan, wanting to kill Wanxin. "You're just an ant, and you want to hurt me?" After hearing this, Luanqing sneered and slapped it with his palm, sending it flying more than 10 meters away, landing right next to Yi Guqing and the others. When Zhe spat out blood, his pupils shrank slightly, and he seemed to be a little amazed at the opponent's terrifying strength. Then he slammed his body to the floor, his eyes full of regret, expressing a sense of powerlessness. Interesting. You, a demon cultivator in the middle stage of the Divine King realm, dared to sneak into the immortal treasure. Who gave you the courage? Yi Guqing's eyes flashed with divine light as he sneered. After all, in his perception, the other party's cultivation level at the moment was that of a mid-stage Divine King. After hearing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. They had thought that the other party was some terrifying and powerful being. It turned out that his cultivation level was only that of a god king. Wang Yud and the others also relaxed at once and were no longer as nervous as before. In this case, we might as well find out the reason why this person sneaked in before killing him. Jiang Yingyue, who was not far away, had extremely calm facial features as she watched the scene quietly. There was a faint smile in her eyes, as if she was mocking the stupidity of the world. As the black curtain fell, the bright moon behind Jiang Yingyue became even more dazzling. Combined with her devilish face and curvy figure, it was as if the moon god herself had descended, making her even more magical. Brother Wenze, what's going on? Liu Yang hurriedly helped him up and asked, and the others did the same, looking worried. After hearing Jiang Yingyue's words, they felt something was wrong. Then Wenze turned into another person, and what he said confirmed what Jiang Yingyue said, that this person wanted to kill them. They were originally a little wary of Wenze, but when they saw his anger and actions, they realized that some things cannot be acted out. Now Brother Wenze didn't know that he was killed, and an old man sneaked in. Anyone would be so sad. Just like that, the concerns in their eyes completely disappeared, and they even helped him up. Wenze spat out blood. After hearing this, his eyes showed a trace of pity. He said, "Go quickly, or there will be no chance. Leave me alone." After saying this, his eyes grew darker, and his vitality faded rapidly. When everyone saw this, they were also horrified. They hurriedly fed him a few pills and asked, "What's the situation with your brother now? How should we deal with him?" The reason they didn't leave was because they felt that Luanqing's aura was not very strong, so they wanted to discuss how to deal with him. After all, he was also their brother, so they had to ask him before they could take action. "Come closer. I'm going to whisper to you, so that the thief doesn't hear me." After Wenze finished taking a few pills, his face regained some color, and he spoke weakly. On the other side, Luanqing looked on with a hint of disdain at the corner of his mouth, his eyes flashing. "Ants are ants. You guys want to kill me? Well, I'll let you live a little longer." After Wenze finished speaking, he coughed violently several times and blood spurted out. After hearing this, Wang Yud and others rushed forward and moved closer, wanting to hear what he had to say. Yi Guqing, who was standing by, became alert and did not step forward, but just watched from the side. However, the next moment, a shrill scream rang out. A wisp of black air emerged from Wenze's body, and 5 black hands stretched out from it, directly piercing the hearts of several people. "You!" Liu Yang's eyes widened, his face pale, and his eyes were full of disbelief. With a loud bang, 5 bodies without hearts fell down at the same time, and their vitality gradually dissipated. "Yes, that's the look I want from you. It's so delicious." When Wenze saw this scene, he was extremely excited and spoke in a trembling voice. His favorite thing to do is to watch others being killed by him with unwilling eyes. This feeling makes him extremely addicted, and he never gets tired of it. Soon, Wenze's skin slowly fell off, and an evil ghost covered in black energy slowly emerged from it. He looked like a human, but had hundreds of tentacles all over his body, all filled with black flames. There were even flames dancing in his 2 eyes. He is one of the 4 leaders of the blood god cult, Liang Gue. Liang Gue looked at the 5 fresh hearts in his hand and laughed evilly. The next moment, he opened his big mouth and put all the hearts in his mouth. The hearts of these geniuses are still delicious. Compared with those of ordinary people, the difference is too big. Liang Gue looked intoxicated. At this moment, Yi Guqing was completely dumbfounded. He stood there, his body trembling slightly, looking at the scene in front of him in disbelief. "Oh, I forgot you're still here." Liang Gue moved, and the next moment, he appeared in front of Yi Guqing. Yi Guqing was about to escape, but was firmly pinned to the spot by countless tentacles. Liang Gue chuckled, then looked at Luan Chen not far away, and said with a wicked smile, "Don't stare at that little girl. Even if she sees through us, what can we do? With our quasi-saint cultivation, who do we need to fear in this world? This brat humiliated us so much while crossing the sea. Now it's time for us to vent our anger." After hearing this, Luanqing also remembered something, turned around, and looked at Yi Guqing with cold eyes. When Yi Guqing was looked at with this gaze, his hair stood on end. He felt as if he had fallen into an icy cave and cold sweat broke out. After Wan Xin glanced at him, he also turned his head and looked at Jiang Yingyue with deep eyes. He said, "Compared to him, I'm more curious about how you saw through our disguise." At this moment, the quasi-saint aura was released without reservation, and the terrifying pressure pressed towards Jiang Yingyue in an instant. Jiang Yingyue had a calm expression, and her eyes were filled with indifference that didn't care about the world. She just glanced over here, with a hint of amusement on the corner of her mouth. The next moment, the bright moon behind her turned into a portal, revealing endless depths inside. She walked towards the door with lotus steps, as if she had no pressure at all. "I hope you will let me witness a wonderful show." The next moment, Jiang Yingyue walked into the darkness and disappeared from the sight of the three people. When Wan Xin saw this scene, his eyes widened and his breathing became a little unstable. How is this possible? Who is this woman? Liang Gui's expression also changed drastically, and he looked a little gloomy. Unexpectedly, there would be such a change in this immortal treasure trove. Now it seems that the other party brought them here on purpose. The two of them were actually toyed with by a junior. Then, the two looked at Yi Guqing with even more hostility. Chapter 201 Day. The other side. The team led by Li Qixin was invincible along the way and went straight to the core of the great wilderness. Overnight, their points increased by leaps and bounds, and their ranking entered the top 20. Call. Li Qixin was breathing heavily, leaning against an ancient tree. The halberd in his hand had already been soaked in blood, and a bloody, murderous aura permeated his body. Even some butchers would feel ashamed of themselves when seeing such evil spirit. It is conceivable that the number of murderers killed by Li Qixin in this one day is absolutely terrifying. The others also looked exhausted and sat cross-legged on the ground to rest. A day of non-stop fighting was a bit too much for them. After all, they're not as evil as the Overlord, whose recovery speed is ridiculously fast. Looking at the morning light rising in the distance, Li Qixin breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Let's rest here and wait for the others to arrive." After hearing this, Li Muxiu and the others nodded, closed their eyes, and took a short rest. Soon, the sound of rustling footsteps was heard. Li Qixin opened his eyes instantly and looked towards the distance. A group of people walked out from the jungle. They were Chu Yin and his team. When Chu Yin and the others saw them, they just nodded and greeted them, then sat cross-legged on the ground with a tired look. After fighting for a whole day and night, they were also too tired to speak. At this moment, Chu Yin no longer looked as weak as before. Holding a silver-white spear, she looked very heroic. Her delicate face was stained with blood, and she looked like a female god of war. Lu Dazui and Xiongda in the team saw Li Qixin and his companions. Their eyes lit up, and they hurried over as if they had found nectar in the desert. Then, the two of them found a piece of grass, lay down, and began to sleep soundly. After seeing this, everyone felt a little impressed by the two people's broad minds. In such a dangerous place, they dare to sleep without any precautions. I am afraid that in the entire Xinzong, there are only these two people who dare to sleep without any precautions. Wang Teng and Chao Li were also silent. After arriving, they also found Gu Mu to lean on, with tired eyes. As the only woman in their team, Ximing's purple gauze dress was still as clean as when she first arrived, but her beautiful eyes revealed fatigue. The reason why Ximing's skirt was clean was due to her fighting style. She didn't need to fight herself, but only needed to cast spells from a distance. So when everyone saw this, they didn't say much. She did not sit cross-legged, but looked into the distance, not knowing what she was thinking. Her purple hair fell behind her like a waterfall, and the curve of her back was very charming. Of course, no one else was paying attention to this at the moment. Li Qixin took a quick look and found that their number was not reduced, so he breathed a sigh of relief. Now, only Yushun and his team have not arrived. I don't know where they are now. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he always had a bad premonition in his heart, which was getting stronger and stronger. How many aliens have been killed along the way? In order to pass the time, Li Qixin took the initiative to go forward and talk to Chu Yin. After all, with his status, it was very appropriate for him to communicate with Chu Yin, who was also the captain. Chu Yin thought for a moment and responded, "There are nearly 100 alien, but most of them are at the powerful level." "Over 100? Not bad." Li Qixin nodded, feeling a little surprised. You know, their team only killed about 150 of them in just one day. For a woman like Chu Yin, it is already very outstanding to be able to achieve this level. Li Qixin glanced at the ranking on the screen in his hand. Ranked 20th, Li Qixin, Xiantian Realm, 867 points. Ranked 23rd, Chu Yin, Xiantian Domain, 672 points. Both of them made it into the top 25. If they can maintain their performance, they will be able to secure a spot in the second round. Thinking of this, Li Qixin couldn't help but feel happy. He glanced upwards, wanting to see the people at the top of the rankings. At first glance, the top 10 rankings have changed a lot in just one day. The first place was still Nangong Chen with more than 5,000 points, hanging high there, attracting a lot of attention. Seeing this, Li Qixin's heart was inevitably stirred again. Only after killing those aliens could he know how difficult it was. These 5,000 points are really too outrageous. Besides, Brother Nangong is with the Ice Phoenix Goddess. But a day passed, and why didn't the scores of the two increase at all? Even the second-placed Ice Phoenix Goddess was surpassed by Xianjie of the God Clan, and was very close to the first-placed Nangong Chen. Thinking of this, Li Qixin frowned and felt a little uneasy. Could it be that something unexpected happened to Brother Nangong? However, Brother Nangong's points haven't decreased. That proves there's no danger. Li Qixin couldn't help but think of only one possibility, which was that the other party had used some unknown means and paid some price the day before, which resulted in today's score remaining unchanged. After all, those 5,000 points were too shocking to the world. Even people in other domains were still only scoring a few dozen points. When a person with only a few thousand points suddenly appeared, wasn't that a dimensionality reduction attack? Li Qixin couldn't help but show a look of realization. It seemed that Brother Nangong was fine. In a few days, his score might go up. At this moment, in the outside world, when everyone saw this scene, they were filled with emotion and were shocked by the strength of these monsters. They witnessed with their own eyes the fierce fighting between Li Qixin's team and Chu Yan's team along the way, how hard it was to gain the victory, and the power of those ferocious beasts with blood-red eyes. But even in such a situation, they were still able to kill hundreds of them, which was enough to prove their extremely powerful strength. The Overlord is indeed the Overlord. The slaughter along the way was truly thrilling to watch. It was like a ferocious beast in human form, sweeping forward. Yes, the Overlord is just too strong. If we were to encounter those ferocious beasts, we would probably be torn to pieces. But the Overlord can kill them instantly with just a swing of his halberd. TSK, 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 the gap between them is just too huge. I think Saint Chu is also very strong. Holding a spear, she is no less powerful than those men. When she encounters those ferocious beasts, she can penetrate them with one spear. She is truly a heroine. It seems that our Xiantian territory will also take the lead in this immortal treasure hunt. Everyone present was amazed at the performance of these geniuses during this day. They were very Chapter 201 Blood God Cult Infiltration. Strange. Didn't you notice that we didn't see the third team? Why didn't we see the team led by the Moon Goddess? Isn't it said that this psychic mirror can track the perspective of the Xiantian territory's prodigy? Everyone said this with some doubt, all puzzled. However, the next moment the scene changed. Boy, weren't you quite arrogant just now when we were crossing the sea? And you even told us to shut up, Liang Gui said evilly. The flames in his eyes curved into an arc. In front of him, Yi Guqing was surrounded by endless tentacles. His face was pale and his eyes were full of fear. He said in disbelief, "You are all quasi-saints. Damn it. How did you get in?" At this moment, Yi Guqing also discovered that something was wrong. The aura of the person who was originally just a confused mind in the middle stage of the Divine King realm suddenly changed and turned into a quasi-saint. Wanxin, who was standing aside, also had a playful smile on his face. He really enjoyed the fear these prey felt before they died. At their feet was a pool of blood, with 5 or 6 corpses with young faces lying there. Without exception, there was a bloody hole in their chest where their hearts had been hollowed out. This sudden scene shocked everyone watching outside. Who are they? Why did they want to trap Yi Guqing? Dead. These two. Could they be the geniuses from other domains? Look at the corpse on the ground. Hiss. Doesn't it look familiar? Their hearts were actually hollowed out. Who did this? Such a cruel scene made everyone present feel uncomfortable and shocked. However, after hearing Yi Guqing's words, everyone was stunned. Quasi-saints? Sneak in? Don't tell them that the two people tying up Yi Guqing in the picture are actually quasi-saints. Afterwards, some powerful people in the void felt a little uneasy. They were shocked to see that the corpse lying in a pool of blood was none other than their disciple. At that moment, countless roars rang out, carrying extremely terrifying power. Who dared to kill my disciple? How could a quasi-saint sneak into the immortal treasures? Which realm is he from? After hearing these voices, everyone's faces turned pale and their expressions became more solemn. They also realized at this moment that Xianzong was going to be in chaos. It was really going to be a big mess. At this moment, in the picture, the old man with 2 goat horns on his head seemed to sense something, laughed evilly, and said, "Oh, I didn't expect that people from the outside world could sense it. Let me guess, could it be those people from Xiantian territory?" After hearing this, Everyone's eyes were even more shocked. This person was so powerful that he could sense the existence of the spiritual realm. The next moment, that cold and teasing voice sounded again. In that case, I might as well introduce myself. I am Wanxin, one of the four masters of the blood god cult. Wanxin looked into the void, as if he could see someone on the other side, and sneered. Ha ha, the outside world is actually watching? Interesting, I am one of the four masters of the blood god cult, Liang Gui. On the other side, Liang Gui also looked into the void and smiled after hearing this. In the picture, Wanxin and Liang Gui are extremely cold and chilling, as if they have really descended into the outside world, bringing a strong sense of oppression. For a moment, everyone was stunned, and when they reacted, there was a sensation. The name of the blood god cult is well known in the Xiantian domain. Just by appearing, it is bound to cause a massacre. This has also caused countless people to avoid talking about it, and turn pale when talking about it. Damn it, they're actually from the blood god cult. How do they get in? From the way they speak, it seems they hold a high status within the blood god cult. If such people enter the immortal vault, wouldn't it be a disaster for our geniuses? For a moment, countless people's faces changed drastically, and they were very panicked. Among them, there are many people from powerful forces. One can imagine how strong the oppression of the blood god cult is. In the void, the pupils of those powerful beings shrank slightly after hearing this, as if they had heard something incredible. Oh no, it's actually the four leaders of the blood god cult. Someone looked ashen and spoke in a lost voice. How could the four leaders of the blood god cult not know that each of them had reached the quasi-saint realm and was extremely powerful? No matter where they went, they could stir up a bloody storm. Even when several saints were chasing them at the same time, they were able to escape. They were like rats that could not be killed, carrying a bomb, always lurking in the dark, but they never expected that today they would sneak into the immortal treasure. If two quasi-saints entered the immortal treasure, wouldn't it be a situation of rampage? Who could resist? Unless they can hide until the end of the first round. But the people in the blood god cult are extremely good at disguise. How can those geniuses and monsters who can deal with such a powerful enemy? For a moment, everyone looked desperate, and their faces turned extremely pale. Ha ha, I know you're desperate right now. You must be curious about how we two got in. It was all thanks to your Wen family. Wanxin smiled evilly, as if he could sense the emotions of the people outside, and his face showed a look of great enjoyment. As soon as these words were spoken, the outside world was instantly in an uproar. Wen family, is it true that Tianqi City was massacred? Is that bloody scene true? This blood god cult actually massacred an entire city without anyone noticing. There are 3 immortal families in that city. Everyone's face was filled with realization, and then they looked extremely frightened and uneasy. The next moment, on the screen, next, you will witness how I slaughter the proud people of your Xiantian territory. But thanks to you, you listened to us and drove that strange guy out of the team. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been so easy for us to do it. You are honored to be the first one we slaughter. Don't worry, I will treat you like a work of art. Then, Wanxin looked at Yi Guqing and laughed wantonly. Yi Guqing in the picture had a look of despair on his face and was so scared that he couldn't speak. Only then did he realize that many things were wrong. No wonder the other party would find him and ask him to deal with the person with double pupils and force him to leave the team. Their concealment was too perfect. Even if we were alert at that time, we couldn't find a single flaw. Damn it, don't kill me. I will take you to find other monsters in Xiantian territory. At this moment, Yi Guqing quickly begged for mercy. After these words were spoken, Wanxin and Liang Gui slowed down their movements. Chapter 202. Immortal Treasure Crisis. Everyone despairs. When the people outside heard this, they were stunned. They didn't expect Yi Guqing to say such a thing. What does he mean by this? Does he want to bring eternal damnation upon all the proud geniuses of the Xiantian realm? Oh no, I misjudged Yi Guqing. He actually did something so outrageous. What a beast. I thought he was a man before, but I didn't expect everything behind the scenes was actually controlled by these 2 people from the blood god cult. So, kicking out the person with double pupils was also the idea of these 2 people. This Yi Guqing is really the culprit of all this. Everyone was extremely angry and cursed Yi Guqing. In the void, those powerful beings all looked unfriendly, looking in the direction of the Sun Palace. You know, being a traitor to the region is something no one can tolerate. What's more, this matter involves some big forces, which even the Palace of the Sun God cannot afford to provoke. At this moment, Fendao, who had just rushed back, saw this scene and hurriedly clarified, I declare that Yi Guqing has been kicked out of the Sun God Palace. From now on, Yi Guqing has nothing to do with the Sun God Palace. After he finished speaking, he looked at Yi Guqing in the picture with some resentment. What a waste. It would be fine if he died, but he drags us down with him. However, these powerful people did not buy his words and snorted coldly. Don't bother with this nonsense. If Yi Guqing really dares to do something so outrageous, then there's no need for the Sun Palace to exist. If anything unexpected happens to the evildoers of our clan because of Yi Guqing, my Qilin sect will directly declare war on the Sun Palace. My Howren Pavilion is also like this. Because of Yi Guqing's words, the Sun God Palace fell into this situation. Fan Dao's face was dark, and he felt as bad as if he'd been fucked by a dog. The injuries from the fierce battle with Qian Wuji were still aching slightly. He didn't expect to get into such a mess after returning from the fight. If I had known that after Yi Guqing lost to Su Li that day, I shouldn't have let him go to Xinzong. Fan Dao was filled with regret at this moment, but he was powerless and could only pray that Yi Guqing would be killed by the two people from the Blood God cult. It's ironic that a disciple under my command actually wants to be killed. In the picture, after hearing this, Luan Xin said thoughtfully, "It sounded a bit tempting." Yi Guqing's eyes lit up, and he was delighted, thinking to himself that there was hope. Then, Luan Xin paused, moved closer to him, and smiled wickedly. "Boy, have you ever considered that I just came in with you guys? How could I not know where they are? Ha ha. I think this kid is so scared by us that he's confused." Liang Gue also laughed. After hearing this, Yi Guqing's face was stunned, and then turned pale. Yes, they came in with me. How could they not know? Thinking of this, he panicked and wanted to fight for something for himself. The next moment, the tongue in his mouth was pulled out by the tentacle, and blood instantly flooded his throat. "You are a good pretender, aren't you, to let him look down on us while we were crossing the sea?" Luan Xin felt extremely comfortable in her heart, and said with enjoyment as she looked at him in such pain. Soon, under the witness of everyone, an inhumane torture began. A few hours later, looking at the bloody man in front of him who no longer looked like a human, Luan Xin showed a satisfied expression as if he was witnessing a work of art, and completely destroyed his last ray of life. Yi Guqing died. In the outside world, everyone who saw this scene was filled with fear. They had never imagined that the methods used by these two members of the Blood God cult were so cruel and outrageous. However, some people felt that Yi Guqing deserved his punishment. After all, he was the culprit in this incident, forcing the person with double pupils away. He even wanted to do something so outrageous just now. In the void, Fan Dao watched the scene coldly with a ruthless look in his eyes. Even when Yi Guqing died in front of him, he did not have any emotional fluctuations and even felt relieved deep in his heart. Fortunately, Yi Guqing died, otherwise it would be very difficult. However, all his disciples were dead, and the geniuses of other sects would also suffer a devastating blow in this immortal hiding. Thinking of this, Fan Dao glanced at those people who were worried, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. The Sun God Palace is not going to be good, so don't even think about it. On the other side, in the Jiang family, looking at the two still glowing soul tablets in their hands, the elders of the Jiang family couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. This also means that their moon goddess and Jiangche are both safe and sound. As for why the moon goddess did not appear here, everyone speculated that she escaped by other means. Soon, within the screen, Wan Xian turned to them with a wicked smile and said, "Yi Guqing is just the beginning. I will hunt down all the evildoers in this Xintian territory, leaving not a single one alive. Everyone, just watch carefully and see how I kill them." As soon as they finished speaking, the two of them disappeared in front of everyone, leaving only a pile of corpses on the ground. After hearing this, everyone clenched their fists and felt a sense of powerlessness in their hearts. The joy brought by the monsters killed by the Overlord and Saint Chu also disappeared completely. They had not expected that such a sudden change would occur this time, and that two quasi-saints of the Blood God sect would sneak in. This made them vent all their anger on the Chu family. After all, the reason these two people were able to sneak in this time was because the Chu family was careless and made this unforgivable mistake. At this time, the Chu family had already closed their doors to visitors and even activated the clan protection formation, which made everyone give up. The entire Xintian territory fell into silence. Next, they were going to witness with their own eyes the fall of those geniuses at the hands of the Blood God cult thieves. In the void, those powerful beings were also extremely angry. After calming down, they also sighed deeply. We can only hope that a miracle will happen. But miracles don't happen so easily. On the other side, Li Songhai frowned upon seeing this scene. I didn't expect that two quasi-saints would sneak in. He originally thought that it should be a cultivator at the Divine King level, but he did not expect that it would be a quasi-saint. You know, the immortal treasure is restricted by rules, and those above the realm of God King are not allowed to enter. So, these two people from the Blood God cult must have some kind of means. It's difficult. I just hope that the seven gods and Mu Xiao don't run into these two people. Li Sanhai sighed and said, in his heart, there is actually still a glimmer of hope. The immortal treasure is too big, so big that it is unimaginable. If he is not so unlucky, it is actually very difficult to come across it. I just hope Li Qixin and the others can leave that place quickly. Bai Wu Dao, who was standing aside, stroked his beard, his face calm, with a gleam of light in his eyes. Chapter 203 Tianyuan Divine Dynasty is worried. Nangong Chen is barbecuing. Tianyuan Divine Dynasty. As Ranxin and Ryoki disappeared from the scene, the entire palace fell into silence. They had not expected that the blood god cult's lackeys, two quasi-saints at that, would sneak into the immortal treasure this time. What a concept, two quasi-saints. They are enough to run rampant in the immortal treasure. Even in the entire immortal treasure, no one can be their opponent. Thinking of this, everyone's faces turned pale and their eyes were filled with anger. If we had known this, the Crown Prince and the Crown Princess should not have participated in this immortal treasure hunt. It's all the Chu family's fault. All of this was personally controlled by the Chu family. Now, they've made such a huge mistake by letting this quasi-saint from the blood god cult into this. Isn't this a monster that will bring disaster to the entire Xintian realm? What will happen if the Crown Prince and the Crown Princess fall into the hands of these two thieves? All the civil and military officials in the court looked worried, and they couldn't help but think of Nangong Chen and Su Li. The methods used by these two leaders of the blood god cult just now were so cruel that it was outrageous. No matter who they were, they would definitely not want their genius to fall into their hands. Nangong Zhan, who was sitting on the dragon throne, also had a gloomy expression on his face. He said in a cold voice, "What a great Chu family. They didn't even find out about the two living quasi-saints, and yet they let them in so easily. If anything happens to my son and daughter-in-law this time, they will pay the price." As soon as he finished speaking, a tremendous pressure from the emperor descended, making everyone breathless. The Crown Prince and the Crown Princess are blessed with great fortune and will surely return victorious. A minister said this tremblingly, and after hearing it, others echoed it. Nangong Zhan said nothing. His eyes were deep, and the next moment, an ancient golden brocade bag appeared in his hand. He looked at the empty picture, his eyes flickering as he pondered. This is the trump card his mother left for him. If something unexpected really happens this time, I'm afraid he will have to use it. As for what was inside, he had no idea, but the only thing he understood was that it was definitely something that could change one's destiny. In the void, the scene changed. After seeing this, everyone focused their attention, wanting to see which genius this picture was. After watching for so long, they finally understood the order of the screen switching from many people to a few people. For example, first they saw the perspective of Li Qixin and his team, and then the team of Saint Chu. The relatively smaller moon god team was placed behind them. As for now, everyone speculated that this should be the perspective of the man with double pupils and the ice phoenix goddess. Thinking of this, people in the entire Xintian domain couldn't help but look expectant, wanting to see what the two of them were doing at the moment. After all, the last time the man with double pupils and the ice phoenix goddess wiped out a beast den, it was something they would never forget for a long time. They had some guesses in their hearts that these two people would probably make a big move this time. The projection flickered, and the next moment, everyone saw the man with double pupils and the ice phoenix goddess appear. Everyone focused their attention and continued to watch. When they saw clearly what the two people had done, they were all stunned. What are they doing? When someone saw this, they couldn't help but ask. In the picture, there is a man and a woman. The man is dressed in white and is as handsome as a fairy. The woman is cold and beautiful, like a snow-capped flower on a mountain. These two fairy lovers are actually doing a fun activity, barbecue. Yes, you read that right, they are grilling. Nangong Chen held an exquisite bamboo skewer with all kinds of fresh ingredients on it. He brushed it with oil very skillfully and placed down the baking tray in front of him. Below, a purple strange fire was burning. Beside him, Su Li, with a stunning face, was helping Nangong Chen. She held the sword in her hand like a butcher knife, cutting the most valuable meat from the jade ox one by one, with a serious expression. Even after cutting, Su Li would string the bamboo sticks in her hand together and hand them to Nangong Chen beside her. Nangong Chen understood what he meant. He narrowed his eyes slightly and kept adjusting the heat and turning the bamboo sticks. Only when the meat was roasted to a golden color and exuded a misty fairy air did he put it away and place it on a jade plate beside him. Afterwards, Nangong Chen took the bamboo skewers that Su Li had skewered and continued to grill them with concentration. His technique was as skillful as that of a master who had been cooking for many years. Such a harmonious and beautiful scene, however, seemed a little weird to everyone, especially in this gloomy atmosphere. Inside the cave. Wow, your string is really much better than before. It's so neat. Nangong Chen looked at the bamboo sticks in his hand, and said with praise. After hearing this, Su Li raised her chin with some pride and raised the corners of her mouth slightly, as if she was very pleased. Although she didn't say anything, her expression said it all. Nangong Chen smiled faintly, took away the last bamboo stick, placed it on the jade plate, and then took out some seasonings that he didn't know where they were made from and sprinkled them on it. For a moment, the whole cave was filled with tempting aroma. You can eat now. Nangong Chen looked at her and spoke. Even Su Li couldn't help swallowing his saliva and looked stunned when he saw the crystal-clear barbecue. Even she, who had been fasting for many years, was moved by it. You can imagine how delicious this barbecue must be. At this moment, she no longer cared about her girlish modesty and moved forward to eat with Nangong Chen. After taking the first bite, Su Li's beautiful eyes lit up, and she was a little shocked. She didn't expect that Nangong Chen could make the barbecue so delicious. The barbecue was cooked to perfection, and the seasonings sprinkled on it were the finishing touch, elevating the already mouth-watering barbecue to an unprecedented level. It was simply too delicious. She had never eaten anything so delicious since she was a child. Even the dishes in Zhuotian Pavilion that day were far from this level. Seeing that she was silent, Nangong Chen looked puzzled and asked, "Why? Is it not to your liking?" "That's not right. My barbecue skills were honed after I came to this world. Even the seasonings were prepared according to the taste of my previous life, and I carry them with me." You can say that Nangong Chen was a useless person in cultivation before he was 18 years old, but you definitely cannot say that he was an idle person, because his talent in food is unmatched in the entire Xiantian domain. No, it's delicious. Su Li quickly shook her head and explained. Just delicious? After hearing this, Nangong Chen was a little disappointed. He didn't expect that the thing he was most proud of was just delicious in Su Li's heart. This made him feel a little hesitant in his heart about his own skills. Seeing his expression, Su Li was stunned for a moment, and then she seemed to have thought of something. Her pretty face flushed. "I mean, it's so delicious," she responded loudly, as if she had used up all her strength. Nangong Chen was a little confused by the shout. He looked at Su Li with a strange expression. "It's delicious. Is there any need to shout so loudly?" This girl is becoming increasingly difficult to understand. However, after receiving the other party's affirmation, Nangong Chen did not say anything. He ate the barbecue leisurely. On the side, there was also fruit wine brewed from the 1,000-year-old tree. It could be said that he had reached the extreme in enjoying it. But on the other side, Su Li kept eating with her head down. Her face was already red under her silver hair. She didn't dare to look at Nangong Chen. Despite this, her posture of eating barbecue was still very elegant, like a princess. The reason why she said it was delicious at the beginning was because she was afraid that Nangong Chen would be too proud and complacent. After all, if she said she was too greedy for this barbecue, what would she do if Nangong Chen treated her badly in the future and he used this barbecue to threaten her? She would only be able to cry and watch Nangong Chen being deceived by this bad woman. But it seems that the other party didn't think of that. Thinking of this, Su Li quietly raised her head and glanced at Nangong Chen with her beautiful eyes. The reason why they were eating barbecue today was because Nangong Chen felt too tired after practicing sword, so he suggested grilling some meat. At the beginning, Su Li was still a little disdainful. After all, what's so delicious about barbecue in the wild? But despite this, she still helped Nangong Chen without saying much. It was not until Su Li finished eating the barbecue that she sighed in admiration. She had never expected that Nangong Chen could make the barbecue so delicious. After a while, looking at the empty bamboo sticks, Nangong Chen coughed lightly and said, "Since we've finished eating, let's get going." He hadn't forgotten that he had to set up the 9 sky star array, and the prerequisite for setting it up was to place the array stones at the edge of the immortal treasure so that the entire mountain range could be surrounded. At this moment, Su Li's expression has returned to normal. Her face is exquisite and beautiful. The black ice gauze dress shows off her figure perfectly, with a curvy figure and perfect development. Seeing this, Nangong Chen's eyes flashed with surprise and admiration, but his expression remained calm. The two of them packed up and left together. It happened to be daytime at that time. Along the way, Su Li and Nangong Chen were like they were on a spring trip, enjoying the mountains and rivers, strolling in the garden, talking and laughing. Neither of them seemed to be worried about the so-called ranking. Of course, any ferocious beast they occasionally encountered on the road would be killed by their hands. After all, who wouldn't want free points?